Part 161. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1604. The giants of the biochemical star field all want to see if the Orion arm that conquered them has the ability to defeat another enemy, or even be directly conquered like them. Will the giant mosquito clan help Orion to this extent? For the so-called giant mosquito clan, in the biochemical star field at this moment, those at the highest level still know that Jia Yan is just one person, but for those at lower levels, they do not let the lower levels know this. Because losing to a creature, even if the creature is good, will still cause a great shock to the people at the bottom, and even cause little trust in their own star field. And if the defeated race is a very powerful race, and even the specific strength of this race is unknown, then it will be easier for the people at the bottom to accept it. This is also some way to control them. Therefore, most places in the biochemical star territory, or most of the people and middle and low-level powerhouses, believe that the giant mosquito clan is real, so they dare not say anything to resist such a terrifying clan. And this also made it easier for the subordinate creatures of Jia Yan's team to receive all aspects of resources and politics in the biochemical star field. Oh! What kind of place is this empire? It is said that this empire is the enemy of the biochemical star field. It has invaded the biochemical star field many times. There have been countless wars in history. It is just because the star fields around the empire are all their enemies, so the empire has not invaded the biochemical star field. You completely ate it? So, the strength of this empire is pretty good. Yes, this empire's strength is good. At least in the surrounding star field, it seems to be an invincible existence. Moreover, they have the existence of creatures of the lower level stars. It seems that there are more than one. There is a back-level star, do you want Master Jia Yan to come forward? In the biochemical star field, the members of Jia Yan's team who had not yet completely evacuated were discussing the war intelligence that was rapidly coming from the border. The Empire has a large army on the territory. Perhaps it knows that the biochemical star territory is now leaderless. Even though there are a few members of Jia Yan's team, there are only a few strong ones after all. Without the army of the biochemical star territory and the powerful people who are familiar with the terrain, as a resistance, they thought they had a chance to capture part of the biochemical star field. Moreover, the Empire probably believes that the so-called strong men who have invaded the biochemical star territory are just outsiders. Even if the biochemical star territory is allocated a little territory by their empire, they will not hold on much and will only give up. That part of the country was in exchange for a balance between the empire and them. Besides, the empire didn't think that these powerful men were capable. Even their empire became like a biochemical star field and was defeated by them. Because the empire has two creatures of the lower level stars, they will never believe that these 9 so-called ancestors of the giant mosquito clan have the strength to fight against the lower level stars. At most, they were just a little afraid of the so-called ancestor of the giant mosquito clan, so they also used this trick to test. If the so-called ancestor of the giant mosquito clan didn't even resist at all, then they might even intensify their attack. Orion arm is not necessarily. Oh, an empire? And behind this empire, there is truly a galaxy-level superstar field civilization. Jia Yan on this side of the Earth took it more seriously after he learned about the coming of the Empire, especially the reliance behind the Empire. This Empire is nothing, but what is amazing is that behind them, there is an extremely amazing star field, including the Empire and even the biochemical star field, can be regarded as the substates of this star field. The Orion arm is also a member of this star field in name, but no master from this star field has ever come to the Orion arm to rule. After all, there is a light curtain of senior Tianji guarding the Orion arm. Even if they had the ability to break in, they knew that there would definitely be no good harvest, and it might even trigger the hidden counter-attack method of a strong man who was once a domain lord. There would be no great balance between risks and gains, so they gave up. The idea of breaking into the Orion Arm and truly taking the Orion Arm starfield under his control. What I want to care about is not this empire, but the galaxy-level starfield behind that empire. The strongest person in this starfield is a being who has reached the galaxy level, and even higher, he still belongs to the domain of the domain master. Yes, the Orion Arm and the biochemical star territory, plus this empire, are all members of this domain. In this universe, there is no area that is not managed by strong people, even if the Orion Arm is not affected by these domains. The starfields under management also have owners, and even if it is only in name, they will definitely interfere. Jia Yan became solemn. He didn't need to worry about a star-level being or even a powerful person at the lower level of strength. But a galaxy-level person, even Jia Yan, would be worried, let alone reach the level of a terrifying powerhouse who has reached the domain lord level. Territory lord level existences are more terrifying than ordinary galaxy level beings. Their strength has even exceeded that of ordinary galaxy level beings, and they are as terrifying as immortals or gods, even in the eyes of Jia Yan now. The ability of a strong man to turn an entire star field into powder was something he could not imagine. As for Senior Tianji, he had reached such a level back then, but he still died during a war with other territory lords. Although it was a war between several major territory lords against a senior evolved beast territory lord, Senior Tianji also he has many enemies and killed several territory lords, but his own death proves that even if the other territory lords are worse, they will never be too far behind Senior Tianji. This means that in this universe, today's territory lords are definitely there are some that are that powerful. For Jia Yan, before he grows into a galaxy-level being, he absolutely does not want to have any quarrel with the domain lord. Even during this process, he does not even want to see any domain lord, because this it is definitely a huge risk. God knows what the current territory lord's attitude will be towards the evolved beasts that once caused great wars in the galaxy. If they are hostile, Jia Yan can be slapped to death. Even after becoming a galaxy level, Jia Yan estimated that he would not be able to survive against the strength of a territory lord. At least he would have to become an extraordinary being in the galaxy level before he dared to deal with a territory lord openly. Before that, he was absolutely unwilling to cause friction with a territory lord. Tianyu Lang, it would be best for you guys to mediate with this empire so as not to expand the conflict. You also know that my current strength is not enough to compete with the domain lord of the star domain, or there is a conflict at the galaxy level, and the yin and yang Dao has not yet been developed. Let's wait until there is an opportunity in the future. Jia Yan decided to be a coward. Okay. Tianyu Lang, who was communicating with Jia Yan, instantly knew what Jia Yan meant. In fact, several members of Jia Yan's team also knew about Jia Yan and their current status. Speaking of which, their strength is already pretty good. If they are willing to take the lead and appear in front of a galaxy-level existence with their strength and identity, they will definitely be reused, and even slowly come to the eyes of the senior officials of this huge star field. Maybe. But unfortunately, Jia Yan is an evolved beast. You must know that the evolved beast has already become a disgusting and even a little disgusting existence for many creatures in the entire surrounding environment. In addition, Yin-Yang Dao is essentially different from the cultivation rules of the strong people in the universe, and even includes the training methods in the realm of gods. If other strong people discover this, it will definitely cause trouble. So after thinking about it, the creatures in Jia Yan's team were also thinking that if Jia Yan didn't make the decision to bow his head slightly, they would also give advice. Fortunately, Jia Yan was not the kind of person who didn't know the general situation, so he gave the order with a little hesitation. Not long after, the co-leader of the Orion Arm, Mr. Jia Yan from the Earth side, issued an order. The Orion Arm Alliance had no intention of becoming an enemy of the Empire and the powerful men behind the Empire, and hoped that both sides would properly resolve bilateral issues. The opinions and conditions of the biochemical star territory were ignored by both parties. Even though the current strength of the biochemical star territory is still good, losers have no say. The Orion Arm sent a so-called special envoy team and united several of the ancestors' subordinates who stabilized the morale of the military and the people within the biochemical star territory. Heading towards the border of the biochemical star territory, where the army is pressing down on the Empire. The Imperial Army is a super huge fleet with a number of millions. Each of these fleets is a behemoth with a length of more than 10 kilometers. The largest command ship even reaches the level of 100 kilometers, which is countless times more terrifying than the Aditha. This is the foundation battleship of a true civilization. There are rumors that such a battleship can match and even defeat a star-level being. Of course, if you want to mobilize this kind of battleship, even to fight against a star-level powerhouse, you will need a huge manpower. At least 100,000 soldiers must be operating in the battleship, otherwise it will not be able to exert its full combat effectiveness. Moreover, this battleship is the main command ship of the entire Imperial squadron and is not used for combat, so he will never go to war unless it is an emergency. It's just that today, this battleship is used as an important weapon to contact the outside world and deter the Orion Arm country guys. Guys, this is the command ship of our fleet, what do you think? A creature that had reached the mid-level star level led 5 behemoths, emitting all kinds of biological powerhouses that vaguely exceeded the strength of this star-level creature, to the command ship surrounded by numerous battleships. These 5 creatures who have reached the mid-stellar level and have a terrifying sense of strength are members of Jia Yan's team. As the powerful subordinates of Jia Yan's team, they had already seen a lot of various scenes during the war with Jia Yan, and since their lifespans were longer than Jia Yan's, they naturally had a lot of experience. But the super battleship in a star field in front of them, which had reached a super command post of 100 kilometers, still made them all slightly surprised. The background of the star field is naturally different. An ordinary primary star creature, let alone owning such a warship, would not have enough financial resources to build or buy a 50-kilometer warship, let alone a mountain-like 100 kilometers of supership. Amazing, but I can destroy such a battleship in less than 3 minutes. Tianyi Alang, who has always been shown as a general in Jia Yan's squad, could not let Jia Yan's squad lose face at this time, so he looked at the battleship indifferently and sneered. Huh? 3 minutes, huh? The middle-level being of the Imperial Star who led them here, his expression sank slightly, and then he shook his head as if it didn't matter, as if he took the cowherd's words as the other party's ignorance. These guys don't look like they exist in the countryside of Orion Arm, but the place they must have come to is definitely not a very prosperous star field. Judging from the way they saw the battleship, you can tell that they have never seen it before. After lightly analyzing the details of these 5 stellar mid-level powerful beings, this mid-level stellar mid-level powerful creature introduced the 5 great beings into the command ship. This also means that this mid-level star powerhouse is not afraid of the 5-star mid-level creatures that he has attracted, and he dares to do anything to harm the battleship. After all, if the 5-star mid-level creatures are on a ship with an extremely astonishing cost of hundreds of, if the battle inside the kilometer battleship is destroyed, it will definitely be destroyed easily. But this creature didn't look afraid at all. Star backstage. When they came inside this terrifying battleship, several members of Jia Yan's team, who were several kilometers in size, were like ordinary people entering a house. The space was large enough for them to feel the spacious feeling for a long time. But a 10-kilometer giant creature waiting here made them slightly calm. Because the person who greeted them was one of the Empire's 2 major star-level creatures, and one of the Empire's ultimate forces. This creature reached a size of 10 kilometers. It was huge, and it looked disgusting like a toad. Outside its body, there were traces of bubble-like objects. You could tell that this creature's talent should be poison or something like that. Hello to the envoys of the giant Mosquito clan, and by the way, hello to the members of the Orion Arm as well. This toad-like creature nodded slightly respectfully to the approaching stellar mid-level members of Jia Yan's team, and then, as if by the way, he looked at the Orion arm, which was only 100 or 200 meters in diameter next to them. The envoys who were accompanying him were taken by him without any fuss. Yes, following Jia Yan's subordinates, in addition to the necessary personnel on their own battleships, there were also so-called envoys from the Orion arm. Of course, these envoys were just here for a show and to record something. No one could. I don't think these guys will be of any great use. But what no one has discovered is that among these Orion arm creatures, there is a team of the Earth Alliance, small Earthlings 1 or 2 meters tall. In such a huge scene, they are like little ants coming to the world of terrifying giants. And among these little ants, there was another earthly man who looked very ordinary, silently watching everything in front of him. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1605. This earthling is none other than Jia Yan's clone. His identity is very secret, and he does not use the original appearance of Jia Yan. He is just a very ordinary-looking Chinese man. Not only did the fellow Earthlings not know his identity, but even the subordinates of Jia Yan's team didn't know that this seemingly ordinary Earthling man could be their terrifyingly powerful Lord Jia Yan. Come on, some friends from Earth, we're here to invite you. When the members of Jia Yan's team were escorted to a conference room of this huge battleship by the creature that had reached the lower level of the star, the Earth, and several other representatives of the creatures from the Orion Arm Alliance were all approached separately. The reception staff greeted and left. It seems that the other party also knows that they say they are negotiating with the Orion Arms, but in fact they are negotiating with the members of Jia Yan's team, so they are just a group of beings who come to go through the motions and are led to take a quick tour inside the battleship. Lock up. Sir, we are also members of the meeting, please let us pass. A creature with an Orion arm. It seems that it should be within the Orion arm. It is a rare existence that reaches the level of a venerable. He is also dozens of meters in size. He was about to say the tough words that all messengers have, but he found that the person who led him away was a half-star queen. Her mouth suddenly shook, and her words became a bit hesitant. His arrogant and respectful behavior made the half-star powerhouse who led the way laugh slightly, without even hiding anything, which made a group of envoys in the Orion arm feel slightly stunned. The people who came to lead them away were several half-star beings. Obviously, this so-called empire had some understanding of the combat power within the Orion arm, and released a group of half-star beings to serve as their leaders. It seemed too oppressive, and it was able to silence the weak Orion arm messengers one by one, giving it a great shock. All this will also put a little pressure on the 5 members of Jia Yan's team who are negotiating. After all, the loss of their own momentum is also an invisible blow to them. In short, in such an occasion, both sides feel a bit at war with each other, and they have no intention of being considerate of the other party. Just when all the creatures in Orion's arms were a little overwhelmed by the situation in front of them, a voice appeared. Senior, we are the official negotiation envoys of the Orion arm. Please don't make it difficult for us. The speaker was a man from Earth with black hair and black eyes who looked relatively ordinary. Among the surrounding creatures that are about 10 or tens of meters in size, the Earthlings, who are generally less than 2 meters in height, are extremely conspicuous. So when the black-haired man spoke, everyone immediately looked at their side. Huh? Just a heaven-level existence. The semi-star level leader over there found that the black-haired man speaking here was only showing his heaven-level strength. He was slightly startled, and then a wave of anger at being talked back by a weakling almost came to his heart. Be careful, this is the Earthling who has a close relationship with the giant Mosquito clan. But when this half-star creature wanted to punish this Earthling who dared to talk back to him, a sound transmission came to his ears from the mouth of another half-star creature next to him. Middle. Earthlings. Are they the race that is related to the giant Mosquito clan in the legend? This half-star creature's heart suddenly trembled, and he suddenly didn't dare to take action. The Empire didn't know much about the giant Mosquito clan. In short, there was no information about the biochemical star field, so they felt extremely mysterious about this race that suddenly appeared, and there was no news about it in the surrounding star field. According to their estimation, the strongest person in this race is at least a mid-level star, or even a late-level star. Such a being is already a great threat to their huge empire. And not to mention, this is a race. If this race is extremely powerful and even has more terrifying tribesmen, then even their empire must carefully consider whether it can provoke them. This is why the empire communicates and even negotiates with the Orion arm. Of course, there is always intrigue in this negotiation. In short, at least in the eyes of this half-star level creature, the giant Mosquito family is definitely not someone he can provoke. So together with this seemingly weak Earthling family, he, a small half-star level strongman, finally it's better to provoke less. Then the anger in his eyes quickly disappeared. It turns out that you are the messengers from Earth. Okay, since you want to participate in the meeting, I will take you there. Several half-star level creatures looked at each other silently, and took the group of Orion arm creatures that they wanted to take away in the direction where the previous Giant team followed the low-level star-level creature. In fact, this group of creatures is also conducting experiments. See if the Orion arm creatures are confident. If so, these assessments will be included in the overall report. The biggest problem of the Empire is that they don't understand the so-called giant Mosquito clan, and they don't know the background of this race. Therefore, during this meeting, they have to test everything, even if this group does not mean anything to them. The Orion arm messengers will have to test it out. Of course, generally speaking, the more important test subjects are entirely the members of the 5 major Jiayan teams. Tap tap tap. With his leather shoes stepping on the steel battleship hull, Jiayan looked at the surrounding scenery indifferently. That's right, it was him who was the young man from Earth who spoke out just now. The surrounding Earthlings were looking at him with strange eyes. Before coming to this border in a spaceship, this young man had always kept a certain distance from the people on Earth around him. Everyone thought that he was just a related worker who was relatively closed off. But now they discovered that he is not closed-minded at all. He even dares to speak in such a big scene. He is simply a bold person. Hello, may I meet you? I am also from China. My name is Su Wen. A beautiful black-haired woman who looked to be in her mid-20s approached Jiayan. This beauty looks like she is a high-class elite. She has an extremely beautiful face, which is just a little bit less perfect than Satsuma-chan. She looks more natural in beauty. I'm calling, just call me Jia. Jiayan thought for a while and responded. Jia. The woman's eyes suddenly lit up, but after looking at Jiayan, she still didn't see any flaws in his eyes, so she gave up. The surname Jia is not a taboo name on Earth. Even if there is someone named Jia, this woman will not think anything of it. But in such a big scene, when a person named Jia appears, this woman becomes a little suspicious. After all, the people on Earth who can appear in such a scene must be extraordinary talents, including her. Thanks to your intervention just now, we were able to regain some autonomy. Otherwise, we would have been taken around in this so-called battleship by them. The woman expressed her admiration for Jiayan's bravery just now. It's nothing. After all, we are here with the 5 members of the ancestor team. They don't dare to do anything to us. Otherwise, I wouldn't dare to talk like this to a half-star creature. Jiayan shook his head and said he would not take credit. Even then, others don't dare to speak. You dare to stand up, which shows that you have great courage. Su Wen nodded. In fact, she wanted to stand up just now, but her strength was only at the Earth level. If she stood up, she would be stared at by anyone who had the slightest idea of being unhappy, and no one would die by then. If she really pursued it, she would die in a terrible way, so she didn't do that. Unexpectedly, there was an Earthling who was braver than her. This battleship is too big. For them to walk a few steps, we Earthlings have to walk for an hour or two. There is simply a huge difference. This is because they didn't use their brainwave power. Haha, forget it, let's speed up, otherwise by the time we get to the negotiation place, they will have finished talking. Jia Yan shook her head, and then under Su Wen's shocked gaze, he released the power of his brainwaves, covering her and the surrounding Earthlings. Call. A group of people flew up and flew quickly behind the semi-star level being who was leading the way. Oh! There is a good one in this Earth civilization. The half-star powerhouse looked behind him in slight surprise, but he didn't have much expression. Because this Earthling named Jia can only use a power of a heaven-level peak at most. For their semi-star level creatures, he is just a larger insect with brainwave power. It can be dealt with, so there is no doubt about it. But the power Jia Yan used was even more shocking to the people on Earth around him. You must know that among the Earthlings, the strongest native Earthling is the eldest princess of the Jia family, Jia Qi, who is said to have married and had children. And her brainwave power has just reached the heaven level. Just high level. This unknown Earthling man has actually reached the lower level of heaven? And it seems that he is very familiar with practical brainwave power, so why was he unknown before? They were all shocked. It seems that there are many geniuses in our Earth Alliance. Several people seem to have thought of somewhere, and after looking at each other, they all smiled happily. I don't know what kind of unique mysterious genius academy they had in mind, or something else. Anyway, after seeing Jia Yan now, I think that among the people on Earth, besides Princess Jia Qi, there are also equally talented people. Jia Yan just smiled and didn't explain anything to them. Under the power of Jia Yan's brain waves, a group of people flew quickly following the half-star being. The group of people felt that the surrounding scenery was passing by like a roller coaster. But in front of the half-star creature, Li, which is just an ordinary walking speed. After all, everyone has reached a size of several hundred meters, and one step is enough for ordinary people on Earth to fly very far. We're here, go in, find a corner, and don't talk. The semi-constant breath level being led everyone on Earth to a gate that could accommodate skyscrapers rather than a gate, allowing Jia Yan and the others to enter. This gate is more than 10 kilometers high and about the same width. It may be just right for powerful creatures, but to people on Earth, it is like looking at the sky. A group of Earthlings entered quietly. Behind them, several other high-level leaders of the Orion Arm Alliance were also brought here by other semi-star powerhouses. One by one, they followed behind the Earthlings' messengers and filed in. In this huge space, several members of Jia Yan's team were discussing silently with the high-level stellar creature they had seen before, as well as several other mid-level stellar creatures on the battleship. Each of these creatures is several kilometers in size. Even the creature from the back end of the star reaches a size of 10 kilometers. One person occupies a huge territory, making a group of members of Jia Yan's team around him. It pales in comparison. As for the entry of Earthlings, all creatures are aware of it, but they are at least mid-level star creatures. How would you react to the arrival of a group of creatures as small as bugs? In this situation, even the primary level of stars cannot enter, and all of them are those who have at least reached the intermediate level of stars. Therefore, it is nothing if the coming Earth messengers and other Orion Arm messengers are regarded as bugs. Your Orion Arm must give us at least half of the biochemical star territory. This is not your Orion Arm's territory originally. Give us half, but from now on you will have legal principles. Do you agree with this? Disagree? The negotiation between the two parties, or a direct tit-for-tat conversation, was carried out fiercely, completely ignoring the members of the Orion Arm who were coming. The other party actually opened his mouth from the beginning and asked for half of the territory of the biochemical star territory. You must know about the biochemical star territory, but it took the members of Jia Yan's team several months to conquer the territory. Although to them, these few months are nothing, and there is not even any danger, but after all they are coolies, and this is the first time they have shown their strength alone in the eyes of Master Jia Yan. How could they let go so easily and have such huge benefits swallowed up by the other party? Well, you actually refuse to agree. Do you want to go to war with our empire? Or do you think you can deal with the strength of my empire? The empire's biologically advanced creature had a glint in his eyes, and the ferocious intent in his eyes seemed to want to choose someone to devour. At this time the whole scene was stagnant. Because the other party is a lower level star, and the conversation at this time is completely that the other party is using his own strength to threaten the creatures here, so the members of Jia Yan's team are under great pressure. But after they looked at each other, they all smiled slightly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1606. I'm sorry, Your Excellency, we don't agree. If you think that the Empire's two lower-ranking stars can do anything to my family. Just when Tian Nialang smiled and was about to say harsh words, he was suddenly startled. The creature at the lower level of the star was also slightly startled. He felt a brainwave power. This brainwave power was extremely thin. Despite his ability, he could still feel it slightly. He was about to explore the source of this brainwave power, but the brainwave power suddenly disappeared, and even his strength, which had reached the second level of the star, could not be detected. But in front of him, the giant mosquito subordinate who wanted to confront him suddenly lost the nervous look of confrontation in his expression. Okay, don't we just want half of the territory of the biochemical star territory? How about we agree in exchange for legal procedures and recognition from the Empire in the future? You actually agreed? Does it have anything to do with the sudden appearance of brainwave power? Did the so-called ancestor of the giant mosquito appear? At this moment, the expression of this star-level creature changed slightly. If the brainwave power that suddenly appeared was the so-called ancestor of the giant mosquito, then just looking at the attainments of this brainwave power, it would definitely be, not inferior to him, even much more than him. Since you agree, let's do this for now. There was a hint of astonishment in the eyes of this low-level star creature. He looked around calmly, but did not find any movement, so he nodded with a gloomy face. In fact, his mission was not only to test the subordinates of Jia Yan's team, but also to intensify his efforts. If the other party's attitude seemed a bit dependent and tough, he would retreat a bit, but if he didn't have the brain power just now, if Bo power appears, based on the requirements of his mission, he actually needs to add some more chips, because several members of Jia Yan's team look very timid. But the appearance of this brainwave power made him dare not do anything. Because the power of this brainwave was astonishing, the more he thought about it, the more unfathomable he felt. Okay, you guys, please take some measurements. I'll go to another place and you guys can sit down first. This star-level being exited the battleship silently. Although this huge battleship reaches the level of 100 kilometers, it is like a small house to a mid-stellar creature. It is so small that if he dares to talk to people or anything else in this battleship, it will be stolen. The chance of hearing it was high, so he had to go somewhere else. This Empire's so-called late stellar creature is so bold to actually make such excessive demands on us. Silence, it's the Lord who agreed to him, so is there any objection? The heavenly cowherd said this in a low voice to a mid-level star creature next to him. Well. The mid-level star creature quickly stopped talking and looked around, as if he was very afraid of something. Tell me, what are these adults afraid of? Are they the ancestor of the giant Mosquito clan? In Jia Yan's clone, where no one was paying attention, the man named Su Wen quietly asked Jia Yan beside him. This Jia Ci is very mysterious and very powerful in Su Wen's eyes, but in the eyes of the godlike ancestor subordinates in front of her, he must be no different from an ant, but she still has questions about this Jia Yan. He seemed to be very interested in this young and powerful young man. Of course, this kind of interest is not literal, but the identity of Jia Yan is interesting. After all, among the people on Earth, there is no news about Jia Yan at all, especially Jia Ci's surname, plus where he is now. It is not difficult for Su Ci to associate him with the Jia family. But what Su Wen might not have expected is that the young man in front of her is the most powerful Jia family in her mind. He also founded the Jia family, and because of his personal reputation, he raised the Jia family and even the earth. The god of earth who has reached such a high status, Jia Yan. If he knew, maybe this woman who looked to be in her 20s but was actually in her 30s would really become interested in the man in front of her. After all, on today's earth, almost every girl has the figure of a powerful man who fell from the sky. With him, there can be no danger. The most important thing is that this man does not seem to be very old. So many women regarded him as the real emperor. The name of this destined prince is naturally Jia Yan. He is also the strongest man on earth and the strongest man in the Orion arm. He has protected the existence of the earth and the Orion arm many times. If you can get this man's love, you will really be loved by thousands of people in your life. The good fortune in life is to be the number one woman in the world. It is a pity that many women, or most people on earth, do not know the specific information and whereabouts of this extremely mysterious Jia Yan. They can only be disappointed, and many women even beat around the bush. I know that there are no boys in the Jia family. The older one is Jia's father, or a young child who is rumored to be the son of the great god Jia Yan, plus the son of Jia Yan's niece. These are either too old or too old. If it is too small, nothing will fit. But just like this, Jia's father, who worked in a certain government agency, had already been seduced a few times, but he just didn't say it out loud. Recalling the men of the Jia family. Or after the men in the market rumors didn't match up with the man in front of her, this woman was still a little curious. If it weren't for the Jia family, it would be a bit amazing to be able to climb into such a situation, and she had never heard of his name or seen his face before, and she couldn't believe it when he said it. Miss Su Wen, please do your job well. Jia Yan shook his head helplessly and said this to the lady in front of him. Her job is to be a secretary. In such an occasion, not only video evidence but also written records are important. This is what Su Wen is doing. The members of Jia Yan's team at the other end were faintly exploring the surrounding environment at this moment. They didn't know where the words of Jia Yan who just talked to them came from. That's all, now that Your Excellency is here, we don't have to worry so much. If there wasn't a big backer behind this empire, we really wouldn't be afraid of the so-called empire and other star regions. They have no idea that the master they are talking about is behind them, and he does not come in his true form, but in the form of some kind of clone. You must know that if there is a battle, it is possible for his clone to deal with an existence of the first level of a star, but against an existence of an intermediate level of a star, or even a person of the lower level of a star, forget it. Not long after, all the creatures here had finished talking. Including a group of incoming creatures in the Orion arm, they were all called to the center, and expressed their opinions as if they were going through a process. Fortunately, the group of creatures in the Orion arm here knew their status, and each one, although they all said a few words when they went up, the meaning behind their words was that they just let the 5 subordinates of Giant Mosquito make the decision. Seeing that these creatures were so obedient, the members of Jia Yan's team all nodded faintly. After all, the creatures that could achieve such a status as accompanying them must have a brain, otherwise how could they become the Orion arm civilization? Representative. The people on Earth have finished talking. Oh, there is another one here. Would you like to talk about it? The 5 members of Jia Yan's team watched as each member of the Orion arm finished speaking, and especially the members of the Earth were invited to come on and talk about their thoughts. The members of the Earth are probably the weakest among the people who came to the negotiation place this time. Therefore, when they spoke, their brainwave power could not even be fully distributed in the space of more than 10 or 20 kilometers, so the surrounding Orions, the representatives, had to get closer to listen. Seeing that the representative from Earth had finished speaking most of the time, and only a seemingly ordinary man from Earth stood aside, the heavenly cowherd smiled and asked in a friendly manner. The Earth is Lord Jia Yan's hometown. Although Lord Jia Yan did not say it, they have good eyesight and must know how to treat the Earth's messengers well. But the last man he named just smiled slightly, then looked at the cowherd and said calmly, "I don't need it." His words caused the faces of the Earth and the envoys to change. If you don't stand up yourself, forget it, but the subordinates of this giant Mosquito Senior have said so, just to let you go up and say something. Even if you are not prepared, at least a few words should be given to give some face. Actually said no directly? This Earth messenger is too crazy. I don't know if he came from the Earth through connections. The Lord Messenger will definitely be unhappy. Although we won't kill him directly, this person will definitely have no future when he returns to Earth. Several of the Orion arm messengers were originally very dissatisfied with the high status of the Earthlings among the members of Jia Yan's team. At this time, they seemed to have seen something good, and their faces were slightly happy, as if they wanted to see the Earth. There is an arrogant person who feels disgusted by the subordinates of the giant Mosquito ancestor in front of him. But what they never expected was that the man named Celestial Cowherd, who seemed to have the highest strength and prestige among the members of Jia Yan's team, after hearing the words of this Earth man, just a slight change in his expression. Then he looked at the Earth man carefully, and then nodded as if he suddenly knew something. "Okay, since you don't have anything to say, I won't force it. I hope you have a pleasant trip." In response to his congratulations, the Earthman just nodded slightly, as if he was very familiar with the respect that this extremely powerful person showed to him. You are so arrogant? Even a mid-level star, or even a creature that may not be an intermediate-level star, has such an attitude. Who is this earthly man? Could it be that he is a member of the Geo family on Earth? That's not right. Even the Geo family would dare to have such an attitude towards the subordinate of the ancestor of the giant Mosquito. I don't think even Master Jia Yan would dare to do so. After all, the status of the subordinates of our ancestors will definitely not be lower than that of Master Jia Yan, or in other words, that Master Jia Yan has some other status. I don't understand, or I should say, we don't understand why the giant Mosquito clan helps the Earth and the Geo family so much. The creatures in the Orion arm all looked at the earthly man, who didn't seem to be strong at all, and couldn't understand why the cowherd had such an attitude towards this ordinary man from Earth. Not to mention that they couldn't figure it out. Even a group of members of Jia Yan's team who were around Tian Niulang were a little confused about whether Tian Niulang had taken the wrong medicine. What are you doing, heavenly cowherd? Master Jia Yan is kind to the people on Earth, but if we have to respect any earthling like this, then we don't even have any self-respect. We are strong after all. Beside Tian Niulang, Luo Longxi's face was gloomy, and she was a little unwilling to accept that Tian Niulang was slowly taking over her position. Unexpectedly, when she was sending out her brainwave power to scold, the heavenly cowherd had not yet responded, but the earthling man glanced at Luo Longxi indifferently, as if he could also feel the transmission of Luo Longxi. Sound like? Well. Luo Longxi was shocked. She suddenly remembered that she had followed Mr. Jia Yan on the Divine Star, using his earthly clone to act together for a period of time. Chia. She was stunned. The cowherd beside her looked at this divine woman who was fighting openly and secretly with her with a kind of pity. Even Master Jia Yan didn't notice it. Haha, I won this round, but Luo Longxi still has great power here. Several members of Jia Yan's team, through the eyes and attitudes of these two people, instantly understood. After all, they are all wise men with demon-like minds. How could they not know Jia Yan's true identity instantly? Lord Jia Yan. Several people quickly and respectfully conveyed their brainwave power to the earthlings here. Well, don't be so nervous. I don't want those late-level star warriors to know my identity. Yes. Jia Yan conveyed the message calmly, causing several members of Jia Yan's team to pretend to be normal. Okay, just now the cowherd agreed with the words of this powerful man from the lower level of the star. In fact, it was my instruction. You may not understand my decision. Why did I follow the other person's wishes so much that I even gave away half of it? Out of the biochemical star territory. In fact, this is not a big loss for us. Jia Yan was talking to several of his subordinates. The method I am using is to exchange space for time. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1607. Although this won't buy much time, and even because of my caution, the other party will definitely take advantage of it, but it will take time in between. Even if we start fighting directly, if we retreat while fighting, such a large biochemical star field will not be able to survive. It's enough for us to guard for a long time. And the process of this period of time is the time for us to slowly become stronger. Don't forget how fast my improvement speed is and your improvement speed. Half of the territory of the biochemical star territory, if we can drag it down 20 years, then we will all win, because I am sure that I will be promoted to the galaxy level in these 20 years. By then, even an ordinary galaxy level strongman will be killed by me head on. As for the territory lord, I am not sure whether I can deal with a super existence, but it is impossible for this kind of existence to appear all at once to deal with me. When he responds, my strength may improve again, and by then I may even be the territory lord. Don't be afraid anymore. Don't forget, I am an evolved beast. Jia Yan's indifferent words seemed to be explaining the facts. Although the tone was calm, the content made the subordinates in the group boil with excitement. That's right, my lord is trading space for time. At least we can't start a war now. Even if this empire makes more excessive demands on us, we will all bear it. 20 years, we must fight for these 20 years. Yes, in 20 years, in my estimation, even if I can't reach the lower level of the stars, it will be almost less. If there is a chance, there may be a slight possibility of reaching the lower levels of the stars, although we are not as good as Mr. Jia Yan, the terrifying combat power and promotion speed, but as long as we reach the peak of the middle level stars, with our yin-yang dao combat capabilities and our true strength, we are not afraid of the existence of ordinary lower level stars, even if we still can't help you much. But it definitely has some effect. Ha, I can't help you. If we form a 9-person battle formation, maybe even a galaxy-level person has a chance to fight. I have been thinking hard these days and have come up with a method that combines the spirit battle formation and yin-yang dao combat. In the next 20 years, we can deduce the joint combat skills, and maybe they will be perfected. Hey, there is such a way. You are so powerful. You can study this kind of thing by yourself. No wonder your strength has been slow to improve recently. Several subordinates expressed their opinions, and soon they all had great interest and vision in Jia Yan's 20-year rhetoric. The members of Jia Yan's team here have given in to the creature of the lower level of the star. To the so-called empire, it is like a punch to cotton. So, the giant mosquito clan must have given up. Judging from the process of their war with the biochemical star field, this giant mosquito should not be like this. Could it be that after knowing the strength of our empire, have you become timid? It's also possible. According to my opinion, most of the giant Mosquito clan's newcomers have just reached the stellar mid-level. Although their strength is very powerful, but against a more powerful stellar mid-level strongman, they are definitely going to lose. Maybe they dare to start a war with the biochemical star territory. They seem to be impulsive, but in fact every step is very carefully calculated. Against our empire, they analyze that they should not be able to take advantage, so I don't dare to start a war. At one end of the starry sky, the creature from the lower level of the star was communicating with two powerful men in another part of the distant universe on a private battleship that was not 100 kilometers away, but more than 30 kilometers wide. Just like the biochemical star field, this empire also conceals its strength. They are talking about two lower-level stellar beings, but the real strength is three lower-level stellar beings. In addition, the empire also has more powerful starfield experts. With the support of those who supported it, it was almost unbridled in the vicinity of this vast star field. When our empire was at its weakest thousands of years ago, we suffered great losses at the hands of the biochemical star territory. Even their territory belonged to our empire. However, later on, the biochemical star territory found a backer through diplomacy, and we, for the sake of influence and the overall situation, we did not take action against the biochemical star territory. Now that the biochemical star territory is at its weakest, it is still being ruled by others. Of course we must find a way to take back our homeland. The three late stellar creatures, after analyzing the strength of several strong men in the Orion arm for a period of time, believe that their strength is no match for the so-called strong men in the Orion arm, even against the mysterious-looking giant Mosquito. A clan are unlikely to fail. So they formulated a policy. That is to swallow half of the biochemical star territory first, wait for a period of time, and then use various excuses to cause public criticism. In this way, continuing to occupy the entire biochemical star territory, and even attacking the Orion arm star territory are all considered things within. But this kind of planning, for the battle between two huge star regions, takes a long time. Even if the policy they negotiated does not take much time, it will take years to actually implement it. What these three lower-level creatures of the star don't know at all is that what they are planning, or what they want to do, has long been known and guessed by Jia Yan. Although he guessed correctly, he did not make any thoughts of resistance because all he needed was time. During this diplomatic trip, neither side broke out into conflict as many people in the biochemical star territory had expected. Although the giant Mosquito ancestors' subordinates passed by 5 in one breath, and even many biochemical starfield creatures were thinking that the so-called giant Mosquito ancestors should have arrived at the negotiation place in person, if there was someone a little spark will cause a war to break out, and then their biochemical starfield may be able to gain more benefits from the war between the two, such as breaking away from the control of the Orion arm. It's a pity that such a thing didn't happen, and it didn't even cause any waves. The Empire and the subordinates of the giant Mosquito ancestor were very restrained and did not cause any disturbance, and then both sides retreated. Next, news came that made the creatures in the biochemical starfield extremely angry. That is, the subordinates of the giant Mosquito creature were so cowardly that they ceded half of their biochemical starfield. This is something that is absolutely unacceptable to the creatures in the biochemical starfield. Because of historical issues, the biochemical star territory and the Empire are almost mortal enemies. This is a tradition that has lasted for tens of thousands of years, and it is also the reason why the Empire and the biochemical star territory have gone to war countless times. In fact, when we talk about the interactions between the two parties, we can see why they are so hostile. The original Empire's territory indeed encompassed the biochemical star territory, and the so-called local creatures in the biochemical star territory were, at the beginning, just creatures developed by the Empire to be used in their wars. But one day, the biochemical creatures rioted, and then almost overthrew the Empire. Fortunately, they were just biochemical people. After occupying a territory, the empire retreated to the current territory. The two sides became stalemate like this, and it slowly became the current territory of the empire and the biochemical star field. During this period, both were expanding. Unable to expand from the other's territory, they attacked and expanded from the surrounding star fields. The current biochemical star field was much larger than the original biochemical star field, and the empire was almost destroyed from the beginning. A small and weak star field that destroyed the country in the biochemical star field has turned into a huge star field with three powerful people from the lower level of the star. In terms of strength, it is much greater than the biochemical star field. So now that the empire has returned to its original homeland, one can only imagine how it will treat the people of the biochemical star territory. The citizens of half of the biochemical star field have absolutely no intention of accepting the rule of their mortal enemy. Therefore, when the Orion arm ruled, for various reasons, or because they believed that the Orion arm would be very good to them, and there was no resistance, when the officials who had not had time to rule properly left the Orion arm, the imperial officials when I first took over. Boom! Imperial dogs, get out of here. The first shot was fired, and the one who fired the first shot was a semi-star powerhouse. Although this star-level powerhouse was killed by a star-level being of the Empire with one strike, but then, the entire receiving planet was like a snowball, and a series of battles quickly broke out. War. Imperial dog, it is simply delusional to think that we biological creatures will be ruled by you. Death, death, we creatures in the biochemical star territory, even if we surrender to the Orion arm, we will never surrender to your empire. Boom boom boom. In the planet or star field where the biochemical star field was taken over by the empire, endless resistance wars began. Logically speaking, the creatures in the biochemical star field are the descendants of the empire for many generations. But at this moment, they seem to remember that their ancestors were destroyed by the empire's creatures thousands of years ago. They were created and then ordered to fight like slaves, an extremely miserable past. Many people who did not originally have strong thoughts of resistance have taken action one by one under the influence of the internet. Some of them are relatively calm. They just want to calm down, but because of their relatives or subordinates etc., got involved in a fight with imperial officials and died, or were captured and had to take action. The entire reception process was extremely difficult. You must know that as a star field that can resist the empire for many years, although the biochemical star field is far behind the empire in terms of overall strength, it will still cost the empire a lot of money to truly resist. No one knows that there is a huge hand hidden behind this, controlling everything. The one who controls this matter is the Orion arm. Online public opinion is too easy to create. These biochemical starfield creatures are inherently hostile to the empire. We only need a little guidance to guide this emotion out. Haha, even if the empire can still take over the biochemical starfield, it will definitely cost a lot of effort, and our Orion arm will have a lot more time. That is, the creatures of these empires are definitely planning to occupy half of the biochemical star field. They will not be satisfied with it, but they will also devour the other half of the biochemical star field in the future, and even annex our Orion arm in the future. I don't know what the giant mosquito ancestor will do in the time we have bought. Will he call the strong men of his own race to come over and support him? Support? The giant mosquito clan doesn't know if there is a giant mosquito senior who is more powerful than our ancestor. If there is, how elegant he must be. Haha, it sounds like you already know the strength of the ancestor. Maybe the ancestor's original strength is not afraid of this powerful empire at all. Not afraid? I don't think so. Although the ancestor is powerful, it is said that the strength of the strong men in the empire has reached a heaven-defying level. The ancestor is definitely aware of their strength, so he will act when he is not sure. Make concessions. Who knows, in short, we just need to carry out the work well to disrupt the pace and time of the empire's acceptance of the biochemical star field. Within the Orion arm, there has been a group of staff for a long time. Because the network was connected to the biochemical starfield network through a special method, they used a unique method to cause a big war within the Orion arm. This is the battle of public opinion in the age of science and technology. People in the biochemical star territory may not be unaware of this, but the biochemical star territory does not have a good past with the Empire. As a result, some high-level dignitaries fell silent. After successfully causing a mutiny in the half of the territory of the biochemical star territory that was assigned to the Empire, some members of Jia Yan's team rushed back to the Orion arm from the other half of the biochemical star territory. This was already 2 years after Jia Yan sent them out to fight. "Sir, I haven't seen you for a long time. I miss you very much. The same goes for my subordinates." The 4 subordinates arrived at the outer edge of the Earth. In the area between Mars and the Earth, they saw Jia Yan, who was alone and quietly floating in the universe practicing. This behemoth giant mosquito changed from the overwhelming momentum it carried forward, and instead showed a slight sense of tranquility, silently practicing in the cosmic starry sky. "Well, you are back. Is there anything you don't understand again?" He just looked at a group of returning subordinates lightly. Because of their years of fighting and winning, this group of subordinates are no longer as confident and magnanimous as the ordinary elementary stellar creatures they once were. Although they had the magnanimity of strong men because they were star-level warriors in the past, no matter how you looked at it, they were still ordinary star-level warriors at that time. But it's different now. Their momentum seems to be a bit sharp, and it can even be read that each of them is not an ordinary middle-level stellar powerhouse. "Yes, sir, there are some things we don't understand about Yin and Yang Dao. Sir, I wonder if you have time to explain it to us." Tian Niaolang, as the highest status among the 4 subordinates who came, first said this to Jia Yan. "Well, tell me, I just have time now." Jia Yan was not surprised at the arrival of his subordinates. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1608. Chapter 35 has been blocked and will be released later. You can wait and read Chapter 36 later, otherwise you will not understand the plot. After all, what they have been striving for these years is to allow the Empire to spend more time occupying half of the biochemical starfield, and even the other half is ready to be lost to the Empire. In 20 years, not only Jia Yanru is dormant here, several subordinates are also dormant to increase their strength. Jia Yan was surprised that it took them so long to ask him questions. "It's like this. Each of us has accumulated problems. I wonder, sir, will you explain them all together, or teach us one by one? Come together, you can also draw parallels." Jia Yan replied calmly. In fact, he knows the concerns of his subordinates. For example, the relationship between some subordinates is not very good. He is afraid that his strength direction will be seen by other colleagues, or he simply feels embarrassed, etc. But for Jia Yan, this kind of thing is definitely not possible, because he does not want his subordinates to become competitive, or infighting, and cause great trouble to the team. Falling apart. Fortunately, he still has a very strong binding force on his subordinates, and as long as his strength is maintained, this binding force will always exist. "Yes, my lord." Several people nodded in agreement. In fact, they also knew that Jia Yan might make such remarks. Letting Jia Yan make the decision would be a step down for them. Next, Jia Yan spent time in battles and explanations such as questioning and learning from a group of subordinates. "Oh, you've actually studied the opposite of yin and yang to this extent." Jia Yan's eyes lit up when he heard Tianyi Alang's thoughts on the blessing of the positive and negative forces of yin and yang Dao, and even the practical significance of combat figured out in actual combat. After all, although Tianyi Alang is not more powerful than him in terms of combat power, he is still a mid-level star in strength. Even if his talent is poor, it will never be too terrible. So he put forward certain points, which made Jia Yandu's eyes sparkle slightly. Although the decisions Tianyi Alang made and the changes to Yin Yang Dao were not completely correct for Jia Yan, he was completely inclined to the explosive power of Yin Yang Dao. In this regard, he was even better than Jia Yan. He studied deeper, but because he was not a subspace creature, the talent gap made him feel very elusive about this kind of positive and negative power, so he came to ask Jia Yan. In this way, Jia Yan absorbed his knowledge and experience, and even used this experience to vaguely refine a new artistic conception of his own Yin and Yang Dao power. Well, you did a very good job, but what are the pros and cons of your thinking? Is there something wrong with you? Jia Yan spoke to him silently. Perhaps Tianyi Alang has mastered the power of positive and negative very well, even better than Jia Yan to some extent. This is because Jia Yan has too many places to take care of. After all, he alone controls all the teams. The members are not capable of taking into account things that are too trivial. But this doesn't mean that Jia Yan is weaker than Tianyi Alang and the others when he uses the same skills of Yin and Yang Dao. For example, what Tianyi Alang is asking now is about the pros and cons of Yin and Yang Dao. Because he has no subspace talent, and his own physique does not have any positive and negative energy, he cannot understand the meaning of positive and negative energy that Jia Yan can feel casually. Without this feeling, he is using positive and negative energy. When it comes to counter force, no matter how creative you are, it is impossible to explode the positive and negative force that is more powerful than Jia Yan, or even close to it. Of course, it was probably because of this that he came to ask Jia Yan. Please give me some advice, sir. When Tianyi Alang saw that Jia Yan had revealed what he had been worrying about these days, he knew that this gentleman was really powerful, so he quickly continued to ask for advice sincerely. Your biggest problem is that you have misunderstood the nature of the forces of positive and negative. The positive and negative are not completely incompatible as you imagine, but you have to think and cultivate them into me in you, you in me, and it's not what you're doing now. Let them know each other clearly, and then call them temporarily during the battle. Jia Yan sneered a little. To be honest, Tianyi Alang, I have mentioned this issue at the beginning. This is also the most basic principle of Yin and Yang Tao that I teach you. I thought you would abide by this principle. I didn't expect you. You actually went astray for me. I finally know why you have stood out from them all these years and become the number one in combat effectiveness. It turned out that you used a trick. But you are completely wrong. The future of Yin Yang Dao is you need to achieve two kinds of strength so that you have me in you, and you have me in you. It's too late for you to turn back now. I don't know whether you can keep your number one position in the future. This, sir, I will change back to my cultivation method right now. I am taking advantage of it. Sir, I am disappointed. When Tianyi Alang heard this, Jia Yan casually pointed out his problems, and even directly said that his future prospects were worrying. His expression suddenly changed wildly, and then he hurriedly said Jian to Jia Yan. Well, you also want to master stronger strength quickly, and this trick of yours can be regarded as a way to quickly explode strength in the early stages of Yin and Yang Dao. In the future, it can also be regarded as a way for others to learn. After all, not everyone can. Those who can achieve your comprehension speed and strength in the early stages of learning, without the initial strength, Yin Yang Dao, would not be able to flourish. Jia Yan's words did not point out Tianyi Alang's little mentality of wanting to compare with Luo Longxi, but instead comforted him. Moreover, Tianyi Alang's work did have some effect. He also saw that in the early stages of Yin Yang Dao, especially when he first started practicing, because of the need to correct and counter the two forces, the combat effectiveness was obviously not strong at the beginning. Tianyi Alang and the others all resorted to trickery, which is even more obvious. You must know that they are star-level powerhouses. Their comprehension abilities and talents are powerful to a terrifying level, but they still do this. Ordinary people, the learners, are definitely much slower than them, so the period of weak strength will be longer, which will completely limit the future of Onmyeto. There are not many paths in the universe that are powerful only in the later period, but those kinds of paths have always been gradually eliminated. Therefore, Tianyi Alang's approach gave Jia Yan a revelation. It is impossible to say that Yin Yang Dao can also try to quickly improve the strength of ordinary learners from the beginning. Of course, he needs to discuss the specific details, or learn from Tianyi Alang's experience. Okay, that's all your problems. You first have to do it until you have me and I have you. And it's not too late for you now. In the future, it will just be a conversion process, which will waste a few months or a day. In 2 years, whether you can catch up with them after falling behind in the middle depends on your own ability. Okay, thank you sir for your advice. The heavenly cowherd nodded to Jia Yan in shame, and then retreated. Next, another subordinate came forward. Sir, I have recently felt that my energy explosion power is a bit powerless. I don't know. This is normal for you. Is your positive and negative power almost neutralized and full? Haha, this is a good thing. Your other power of Yin and Yang Dao is about to reach its breakthrough period. So, let me teach you some ways to be promoted. Maybe you can be promoted to a new level in the next 2 days. I didn't expect that among you, you are the first to be promoted to this level. The title of the strongest Tianyi Alang will be changed to it's yours. Saying this to the second subordinate, he called the third and fourth subordinates in great joy. In this way, after giving advice to the 4 of them, Jia Yan gradually understood that the strength and talent of these subordinates caused no major problems for them. Tianyi Alang's could not be completely said to be a problem, but I used a little bit of my brain to quickly improve my strength, and there are many places I can refer to. Therefore, Jia Yan is very satisfied with their progress. Okay, just follow this cultivation method. By the way, call me the other 5 people later. I'm also very interested in their cultivation progress. Yes. Several subordinates slowly retreated. I didn't expect that they inspired me so much. I'm going to be promoted too. Not long after the subordinates left, in the empty cosmic space where there was no interstellar matter within hundreds of millions of kilometers, a shocking promotion force suddenly exploded. Jia Yan is getting promoted again. Haha, it's not that the main strength has begun to advance to the galaxy again, but that another positive and negative force has been promoted. Originally, I had to cultivate both forces to the lower level of the star in front of the galaxy before I could be promoted, so this small promotion it will keep happening recently, but with such a promotion, my strength will be greatly improved with every step. I can also feel that my strength is getting stronger step by step. Although Jia Yan has improved his strength, even he himself doesn't know how powerful his overall strength will become after his original deputy strength is upgraded to stellar, or even mid-level or late-level stellar strength. This was because there was no more fighting, and there was no reference for him to compare, so he slowly became unsure of his own strength. But improvement in strength is improvement, and for Jia Yan, this is an extremely precious thing. In the days that followed, Jia Yan taught them the Tao of Yin and Yang while referring to the experiences submitted by his subordinates. Finally one day. Has it been 5 years since I returned to the solar system? In the 5th year, I will come up with something that will truly benefit the people on Earth. Time flies, and day by day passes quickly. This day is already the 5th year since Jia Yan followed his subordinates and returned to Orion Arm. In the past 5 years, he had attacked the biochemical star territory, and then lost half of it. Although he is now making plans to destroy and fan the lost half, it is foreseeable that the other half may also be lost. But Jia Yan didn't care about any of this. As long as he didn't attack the Orion Arm itself, what did he do in the biochemical star territory? In the past 5 years, his strength has improved by leaps and bounds again. Another biggest gain is what Jia Yan really wants to leave to the Earth Alliance after he returns to Earth. That is. What? Senior giant mosquito ancestor actually wants to leave his cultivation plan to us earthlings. This. When the Earth's top officials heard what Jia Yan said to them this time, they were all so surprised that they couldn't control themselves, and their jaws almost dropped. Because for them, Jia Yan is an existence that is unimaginably terrifying. Even when facing the Empire, this ancestor's attitude showed that he was very afraid of the Empire, but this does not prevent him from being a threat to the vast number of people on Earth. High status in the eyes. And such a creature can sit on the Earth and even hold the Orion arm easily. They naturally know that it is not an ordinary creature. His cultivation techniques have also been taught by the people on Earth. To the people of Earth. But everyone thinks that all this is just wishful thinking. But I never expected that this wishful thinking would actually come true on this day, and it was proposed by Jia Yan himself. Of course, people on Earth today don't know that this so-called ancestor of the giant mosquito is Jia Yan's true form, but they always refer to him in terms of ancestors. The person talking to the higher UPS on Earth was a clone of Jia Yan, and it was also the one that had been staying in Jia's house. At this time, he shook his head lightly. Knowing that the words he said would not be accepted by the higher UPS on the Earth for a while, and it was not as good as for no reason, Jia Yan said lightly, "Don't think so much, this technique is something I begged my ancestor for. It takes time. It is impossible for us Earthlings to learn the original version of the ancestor's exercises. After all, what he cultivates himself is impossible for us Earthlings to cultivate with our physical constitution, and the talent is too far behind. If you really go to practice, you may not even be able to get started in your whole life, so what the ancestor gives us is just a simplified version. It's just this simplified version. People who are really talented and practice to a powerful level can pass the test of the ancestor and give even more powerful skills. The streamlined version, as long as you have enough talent, you can upgrade it infinitely in the future, and it is not impossible to reach the original version of the ancestor one day. The simplified version will do, too. My ancestor is so kind and kind. Several high-level people on Earth simply didn't care about the simplified version of what Jia Yan said. You must know that no matter how simplified it is still a terrifying cultivation method for people above the lower level of the star. It may even be vaguely a giant mosquito. This is something that a whole clan of people is practicing. This is so powerful. So next, Jia Yan's avatar, as a disciple of the senior giant mosquito clan, spoke of the simplified version of Yin and Yang Tao that he had just summarized and produced. This so-called simplified version of Yin and Yang Dao took Jia Yan a lot of energy and imagination, and it took a long time to produce it. Moreover, it is a streamlined version, rather than a streamlined version. After all, the physique and talents of the people on Earth are much different. If we directly give them the version that Jia Yan is practicing, what will the people on Earth do? There is no need to do it. It will be impossible for anyone to cultivate the slightest bit of positive and negative power. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1609. So after weighing the pros and cons, Jia Yan came up with countless streamlined versions of the training methods, and finally customized the version he was giving to the people on Earth based on their physiques and talents. With this version, although it is impossible to create a terrifying strong man in an instant, it will greatly shorten the process of people on Earth becoming stronger. It is foreseeable in the future that there will definitely be people on Earth who will practice this set of exercises to perfection. Level, and then they will be high-level heaven-level beings, and their combat power will be much stronger than ordinary high-level heaven-level creatures. After all, they are all simplified versions of Yin and Yang Dao. Then these people will be able to get another version of Jia Yan's Yin and Yang Tao, which will be a Yin and Yang Tao that requires more physical fitness and talent. With this set of Yin and Yang Tao, they will be able to directly practice to the venerable level. The next one is the half-star level, the next version is the star level, and the last. It is a version that can be cultivated to the galaxy level. It is also the final complete version that Jia Yan has summarized himself and is practicing and teaching to his subordinates. Of course, in the short term, even Jia Yan believes that it is almost impossible to see such a human being appear before his lifespan is over. People on Earth can appear before his lifespan reaches half a star or be lucky enough to appear. A star-level existence, his mouth would smile crookedly. Okay, this is the version for you Earthlings to practice with. If you are talented, I will personally guide them. Yes, Master Jia Yan. Hearing that Jia Yan's clone was willing to personally provide guidance, all the Earthlings' senior executives looked ecstatic. You must know that this most powerful person among the people on Earth is almost the same as the giant Mosquito. He lives in solitary confinement and almost never sees the beginning or end of the dragon. Although everyone knows that his strength is not at the level of the seniors of the giant Mosquito clan, among the people on Earth, he is definitely outstanding. Even the other strong men in the Orion arm, no one dares to say that he is better than this Jia. Mr. Yan, so compared with the current strongest people on Earth who have reached the high level of heaven, he is definitely a super powerful person. Having such an existence to explain is definitely a matter of getting twice the result with half the effort, which is of great benefit. By the time Jia Yan left the Earth Alliance headquarters and returned to Jia's home, the senior officials here had already started mobilizing one by one. Hurry up and arrange for geniuses to practice. The operation is the same as before. Yes, even if you take some risks this time, you have to arrange for geniuses from our family to enter. Of course, as long as you are truly talented and have a sensible mind, then I don't want to raise a useless young man who is also a playboy. This time I am facing Master Jia Yan. If you send such a young man over, you are just looking for death. Haha, is your family planning to do this? My family is the same. Although we treat our family a little better, the food we send is definitely of first-class quality. Even if the adults knew about it, they probably wouldn't care so much. After all, the children of our family, it is almost the first echelon of existence on Earth. The senior executives are all looking forward to the personal guidance that Jia Yan will give. In addition, Jia Yan's strength has already left great prestige and desire to learn in the minds of their children, so these children there is definitely no problem. In this case, these high-level children can come into the sight of Master Jia Yan and really learn something. Even if it is just superficial, it may be a reason to continue to have a relationship with the Jia family in the future. You know, even if you reach a high-level position, the high-level people on the Earth have always known that it is difficult to be more than 3 generations on the Earth, and the most stable family on the Earth can be identified at a glance as the Jia family. As long as Jia Yan is here and the giant Mosquito clan is here, the Jia family will never fail. Haha, these guys actually use some tricks, but it doesn't matter. As long as the people they come have real talent and learning, it won't be a problem for me to accept them. Jia Yan returned to his residence, and then silently looked at the information given to him by the Jia family's intelligence agency. This information is very detailed. Even those creatures who consider themselves to be the upper echelons of the Earth have been grasped by the intelligence system on everything from big to small, even to the details of what underwear they wear, what hobbies they have, etc. Write it down in detail. After all, it is the information of the Jia family, and it is to serve Jia Yan. This kind of intelligence matter must be taken seriously. But these guys don't have any other harm, or they also know that I have the final say on Earth, so they don't do much about corruption and other things such as using power to oppress others, and they just silently help children in some families or relatives to obtain better cultivation resources. This is also normal for strong people, Just like I always teach Jiakai and the others, this is also a normal person's mentality, so for them, you can rest assured now. After Jia Yan read the information, he stopped paying so much attention. To him, these are all trivial matters. All he has to do is to slowly develop his yin and yang dao on Earth, and then other children in the Orion Arm Star territory will come over to learn. Of course, it's okay. This yin and yang dao is suitable for the people of the Earth. In this regard, the people of the Earth always take advantage. It does not mean that other races cannot practice. Even the speed of this cultivation is because the yin and yang dao takes a different path, so the speed may still be faster than most. The cultivation method is much faster, but it is inherently much worse than the people on Earth. This also ensures that the people on Earth will not lose their dominance in the future. Although Jia Yan can also see that the outside world will have a larger population and more talented people. Therefore, in a period of time, there will be many people who far exceed the people on Earth. A master of yin and yang, but these are just labor pains, and people on Earth will catch up slowly. The whole process may take hundreds or even thousands of years, but as long as it is completed within a few thousand years, Jia Yan thinks that as long as he does not die, in the hands of a strong person, the lifespan can already be so long, and it can protect the people of the Earth until that time. And, my Earthling family will slowly come out to replace me and become the new patron saint of the Earth. Where did that brat go? Far away at the end of the starry sky. It is said to be the end of the starry sky, but it is only a neighboring star field not far away from the Orion Arm. This star field is called the Sky Color Star Field, which means the 5 colors of the sky. There are many colors in the star field, so it is named. This star field is also one of the neighbors of the Orion Arm. Boom! In the starry sky, a shocking giant palm shot down. And in this shocking giant palm, a slightly embarrassed figure quickly moved aside. Asshole, you missed the shot again. I am a powerful starry sky level high level person who can't even beat you, an ordinary starry level sky level junior? I don't believe it. A roaring figure rushed out fiercely in the starry sky. His figure was 50 or 60 times larger than the tiny figure that escaped before, reaching tens of meters in height. The escaping figure was only over 1.7 meters tall. Humph, so what about high-level starry sky level? That person killed high-level venerables at the elementary level of starry sky level back then. I can't even do this, so how can I surpass him? The flying figure had a sinister expression on his face. Although he said so, his body was injured everywhere, and he did not seem to be able to kill the enemy beyond a level as he said. The person he was talking about was none other than Jia Yan, and he was Jia Yan's clone. Perhaps it was because of the unequal information. Although he had long suspected that his father Jia Yan was not an ordinary human being, but his image since childhood was fixed on that human appearance, with a seemingly ordinary appearance. Person, so he just regarded that clone as the object he wanted to transcend. And the strength shown by that clone is actually far more than that simple. The original clone's total energy was able to defeat the powerful master of the venerable level with the strength of the primary starry sky level, but the flying Jiarong was not allowed to admit it at all. Because no matter how he thought about it, he didn't think that a creature could jump to fight in such a situation. Of course, in fact, Jia Yan, when he was at the initial level of starry sky level, was indeed unable to fight like this across levels. But he was probably much better than Jiarong now. Puff. After both of them attacked each other, both figures were thrown back. What kind of talent do you have? Are you a gifted genius who can go to the genius battlefield? The figure was almost completely shocked. You must know that in their Tian's star territory, they have also heard of the famous name of genius battle territory, but genius war territory has never recruited in their small star territory that does not even have star-level existences. They are influenced by geniuses, so they are extremely afraid of geniuses who can reach the genius battlefield. Of course, they don't know what the recruitment criteria are for the Genius Battlefield. Genius Battlefield? Well, I seem to have heard of this place. If I can, of course I want to go. Can I surpass him just in the Genius Battlefield? Thinking of that person's astonishing terror, which almost exceeded his own talent, the child was almost desperate. Puff. Just when he was thinking this, suddenly, a shocking force completely enveloped Jiarong's earthly appearance. Shocking power suddenly erupted from inside his body, and then his momentum suddenly increased a lot. Promoted. Even Jiarong himself thought it was very surprising. You have been promoted again. It is said that when you first came to our Sky Star territory, you were only a high-level sky-level person, but you were promoted to an intermediate star-level level so quickly. What kind of creature are you? It's impossible to have such a talent, it's impossible. The creature that was fighting Jiarong quickly retreated. Because he couldn't defeat Jiarong, who was a junior starry sky level creature, and when a creature suddenly exploded into an intermediate starry sky level creature in front of him, he was even more unlikely to be his opponent. My race? I am the Earth, no, in short, you go to hell. Jiarong was about to say that he was from Earth, but stopped mid-sentence. Because when it comes to the Earth, just like he admitted that his talents were inherited from his father. Boom. There was a burst of explosions in the starry sky, and the creature of the lower starry sky level died unwillingly. My talent, actually broke through again. Could it be that I didn't inherit it from my mother, but from that guy? Jiarong only felt ridiculous for a while. The person he wanted to surpass actually passed him the best talent. Even though he inherited such a good talent and kept making breakthroughs, he still felt that he was not as fast as the other person. In 5 or 6 years, I have broken through from the lower level of the sky level when I first walked out of the Earth to the middle level of the starry sky level now. Isn't this speed fast enough? What kind of speed would that person be back then? In short, I don't care. He is my goal and I want to surpass him. Jiarong has always regarded Jia Yan as his goal to overtake him, and even for this goal, he went out to the outer star field. Suddenly, when Jiarong killed the mid-level starry sky-level creature, his expression suddenly changed. Because in his perception, a powerful person who was so shocking that it was impossible for him to fight against him came from the distant starry sky like an arrow, soaring into the sky quickly and coming to his eyes. How dare you kill my subordinates, you are so brave. This earth-shattering momentum was extremely astonishing. The arrival of a figure almost caused the space to tremble. Its figure is huge, more than 1 kilometer in size. If another person on Earth were here, looking at this mountain-like figure, he would be frightened to the point of going crazy. This was the first time that Jiarong saw such a terrifying behemoth so close. Even if he wasn't scared half to death like ordinary Earthlings, it was almost there. This, what kind of strength is this? Half star level? He is just a starry sky level creature. Facing a venerable, there is no possibility of confrontation. It is even more impossible to confront a being who is much stronger than the venerable. Even the sudden pressure from the other party's look almost made Jiarong collapse. Die. The coming semi-stellar powerhouse may not value that dead starry sky level existence that much, but he is his subordinate after all. He happened to pass through this starry sky. If he dies, he will not be investigated, and it will not be justified if the news reaches his subordinates. And it's just a starry sky level opponent. For a being like him, he can kill them almost casually, without any hesitation, and it doesn't take much effort. The creature's feet slowly thrust out. Originally, at this speed, it was easy to dodge, but in Jiarong's eyes, it was impossible to dodge. I can't move, I'm going to die here? I haven't honored my mother yet, I haven't let him acknowledge me yet, I'm not willing to accept it. Jiarong almost wanted to cry. For a child who had just ventured into the universe, he was almost like a newborn child, and his mood could not be said to be able to withstand a big blow. But no matter what, since he has left the universe and fought with aliens in this state of mind, he must bear the consequences. In this moment of life and death, Jiarong seemed to have suddenly grown a lot, and he seemed to have a better understanding of his father who had been away from home for a long time, but whose strength improved greatly every time. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1610. It seems that over the years, I have never had a good conversation with him. Is it because I don't talk to him, or because he doesn't talk to me? I really want to say a few words to him before I die. Looking at the feet right in front of him, Jiarong shed a tear. The shadow of his whole life was that person, but before he died, he was still thinking about that person. His feelings were too complicated. But will Jiarong die? Jia Yan's backup plan will let him die? Just as Jiarong closed his eyes and waited to die. Who dares to hurt my son? An earth-shattering force, like a roaring mountain and a tsunami, capable of causing the entire world to collapse, suddenly emerged from Jiarong's body. Buzz buzz. Click, click, click. Subspace collapsed. Gravitational waves collapsed. Even the ubiquitous laws of the universe in the entire starry sky seemed to have completely collapsed at this moment. Everything was another kind of law and force supporting the existence of this force. Boom. The extremely terrifying sound waves of heaven-shattering and earth-shattering spread out like explosions in this cosmic space where there should not be any sound. Everything, at this moment, seemed to be in a boiling state that it was impossible to stay away from. Only Jiarong, who seemed to be the center point of power release, was completely confused at this moment. Because the feeling of power was somewhat familiar to him, and the sound of power shocked him even more, making him feel that it was impossible. This voice turned out to be that of his cheap father, which made him both proud and unacceptable, but also the voice of someone who even held a grudge, Jia Yan. This is. Not only was Jiarong shocked, but in front of Jiarong, the half-star existence that originally wanted to kill Jiarong and established power with one blow, at this moment, he only felt an unbelievable terrifying force. From that outsider within the body of the tiny creature, it opened like an explosion. This power was so terrifying that it took control of his body in an instant, making him unable to move. The realm of constant and stellar level experts? And compared to ordinary star level, I don't know how much stronger it is. Although this half-star level being has not seen too many star level experts, he has still seen star level beings. However, the star level beings he has seen were shocked by the shocking power that appeared in front of him. In other words, it was just a drizzle. This is completely beyond the power of ordinary star level experts, and the feeling of this power makes you know that I am not nearby, but just borrowing the body of that small creature to release it. This shows that the strength of this creature is far from being as simple as what is shown in front of you. Combined with the words spoken at the same time as the voice appeared, this semi-star powerhouse suddenly felt a buzzing sound in his head. I actually touched a child who was at least a stellar powerhouse? Isn't it just an ordinary conflict, but you want to kill this child? I'm having a brain twitch. Sir, this is all a misunderstanding. He quickly forced his already immobile body to burst out with all his strength. Speaking these few words, more than half of the strength in his body was taken away. You must know that this is half the power of a half-star powerhouse. It is absolutely earth-shattering. It can kill a planet with a weak civilization. But in front of this star-level power, it is necessary to break free from its power control. More than half. This may be the reason why people let it go on purpose. Misunderstanding? Xiaorong, tell me, is it a misunderstanding? That shocking terrifying power loomed behind Jiarong, forming an illusory shadow covering hundreds of kilometers. This shadow seemed not to be a human being, but a monster with legs, but it made others look at it. Not real. Gudu. Jiarong had been so shocked by what happened suddenly that he couldn't speak. Only then did he finally come to his senses. His head was shut down and he could not speak, but he vaguely knew that the emergence of this power had something to do with his father, Jia Yan. He is not a misunderstanding. Please help me kill him. Jiarong's mood was agitated, but he would not forget that the creature that appeared in front of him wanted to kill him just now. If the power behind him disappeared, God knows whether this guy would come to kill him again. Good. That power doesn't care whether Jiarong said it right or not. Anyway, if he said it, then this power will completely follow the work. Puff. The moment this force spoke the word good, Jiarong immediately discovered that in front of him, the half-star level existence that was so terrifying just now, as if the world and the earth could not resist, actually showed no signs at all. With a soft sound, it exploded from the inside of the body. Then it continued to disintegrate, and finally even the flesh and blood collapsed into the most basic particles. In less than 10 seconds, a creature that had been so powerful just now, with strength reaching a semi-star level, was completely transformed into nothingness in front of Jiarong's eyes. This made Jiarong stunned and shocked beyond words. A mere star level and a half-level warrior didn't expend more power in this blow. Xiaorong, remember that there is still 97% of this power. It doesn't take much effort to fight against a star-level person. Take care of yourself. The shadow of the huge creature slowly disappeared. Wait, sir. Who are you? Seeing that the existence of this power was about to disappear, Jiarong finally couldn't help the doubts in his heart and asked loudly. The illusory existence of power that was about to disappear suddenly paused, and then regained a little solidity. Two words burst out in the starry sky, but it was these two words that almost caused Jiarong, who was already shocked, to completely collapse. Because these two words were words that he had guessed in his heart just now, but was unwilling to admit them. These two words are, "Your dad." After saying these two words, the power suddenly caused the starry sky to disappear. Even though the power disappeared, the strange situation created in the starry sky still lasted for a long time. At least 2 levels of the subspace collapsed, and it took a long time to recover. The exits of the gravitational wave system have been blocked, because gravitational waves do not exist everywhere in the universe like subspace, so the natural channels of gravitational waves have changed their paths, making the surrounding gravity a little different and distorted. As for a moon-sized star hundreds of millions of kilometers away, due to the impetus of this force, the creatures on it began to suffer huge disasters, and a mass extinction almost occurred on the entire planet. All of this was actually caused by Jiarong's power. My dad? Jia Yan. Impossible. Can't he not even be able to defeat a half-star mid-level existence? No, there must be something wrong. How could he be so powerful? At this moment, Jiarong looked at the endless influence around him. Even the subordinates and battleships who were originally following the half-star existence all witnessed the scene and did not even dare to escape. They quickly waited in the original place. On the ground, they were waiting for this being who seemed to have used his own power to kill a semi-constant breath-level expert in an instant, to go over and inspect them. But Jiarong was completely lost in his own thoughts. When he arrived in the universe, he met and even fought with people from various civilizations, all in order to quickly improve his strength. As Jia Yan's son, he originally thought that if he wanted to surpass his father, he would have to fight with stronger beings in the more powerful starry sky, and then he could return to the earth in an upright manner and defeat Jia Yan. He originally thought that in the sky star field around the Orion arm, the strongest people there would be just like the semi-star level beings just now, top-notch semi-star level powerhouses. As long as he grew up here, he would become the same. Semi-star level, even if Jia Yan is promoted to semi-star level by then, he still has a certain chance of victory. He had never expected before that he was just fighting a starry sky level powerhouse, but he actually attracted a half-star level existence. But what he didn't expect was that when he almost thought he was going to die and faced an attack from a half-star terrifying existence, his father Jia Yan appeared. And what appeared was just what he called a power. But this power completely violated Jia Rong's definition of his father's strength at this time, which was only at most low-level half-star level or even less than that. A powerful man who was half a star and at least an intermediate level, was shattered into particles without any resistance at the casual attack of his father's mere force. This shows that the semi-star level powerhouse is completely different from this power, and cannot even resist at all. Moreover, the half-star level creature begged for mercy before dying, and also said that the owner of this power was at least a star level strong man. Star level? Haha, is he a star level? According to his age, if he is really a star level, then his talent, at my age, would have already been at the venerable level, and I have just reached the starry sky level. I actually thought I could surpass him. Jia Rong's blow was too great. He originally thought that he had a chance to surpass the existence, but at this moment, his true appearance suddenly burst out. Not only was he not a mere half-star level creature, but a being. He has reached the star level, and even according to the words of the semi-star level expert, he is still a powerful being even at the star level. So with the talent shown by Jia Rong at this time, it is simply impossible to catch up with such a strong person. No, how could he be so powerful? Come out and tell me why you are so powerful. Did you use any methods? Tell me quickly. Jia Rong suddenly drank towards his body. But the power hidden inside Jia Rong's body showed no reaction at all. Yes, since he is a star-level existence and has spent so many years on an alien planet, someone must know about his star-level reputation. You, come here and tell me who knows a person named Jia Yan's star-level powerhouse. Say it quickly. Suddenly, Jia Rong Chao was not far away, everyone was trembling, and although there were several venerable level beings, no one dared to run away. Ah! This group of creatures rushed over in an instant. Sir, please spare my life. We were only forced by that guy's strength, so we had no choice but to obey his orders. By the way, sir, do you want to ask our name Jia Yan? Well, although we don't know much about this name, I've heard of it, but I don't know if it's what you want to know. A few years ago, I heard that an evolved beast creature named Jia Yan made a big fuss in the biochemical star territory, and then went to the genius battle territory. What happened next we don't know anything about it anymore. Jia Yan? Evolution beast? What is the evolution beast? No, this should be him. He has fought with the biochemical star territory, and is also called Jia Yan. It is probably him, also. Do you mean genius battle territory? There I have known for a long time that he has arrived at the Holy Land where geniuses have trained. No wonder he is so powerful. I also want to go to the genius battlefield. If he can make rapid progress there, can't I? Jia Rong's traces of Jia Yan's past existence in the universe are becoming clearer and clearer. There is still little information in his hands now. Perhaps after a while, he will know about the so-called evolved beast, the father in his eyes, and even his father Jia Yan and his mother Satsuma. The real reason why there is such a relationship between niches. After all, as a person raised in the Earth's environment, Jia Rong is very familiar with the way of thinking of Earth people. In other words, his hatred for Jia Yan now is precisely because of the thinking of Earth people. Maybe in the future, when he learns that he has little connection with the genes of Earthlings, he will probably suffer for a period of time, but this will also be a period of his growth. Quickly, tell me where the genius battlefield is, and I'll go too. What? Do you want to go to the biochemical star field, or even farther away? Do you want such a good battleship? This, this, this. No, I don't have a battleship, but I can grab it. Didn't he say that the power in my body can still deal with the stellar class? I believe he won't lie. Then, tell me, the most recent one, where is the weak star level existence? A naughty kid who wants to follow in his father's footsteps will cause a bloody storm in this star field. 3 months later, in an area where a terrifying existence lurked, known as the weakest star-level powerhouse in the surrounding star field, bursts of roars erupted. Xiaorong, you are so naughty. I used 50% of my power to kill this person this time, and this power is less than half left. And you still have 2 powers like mine in your body, too. After that, your life will no longer be protected by Daddy, do you understand? There are actually 2 more, you, and 1 force killed the first level strong man in the star, and you only used 50% of the energy of 1 force. You, how strong are you? When Jiurong looked at the disappearing power in disbelief, the shadow of the huge long-legged animal had slowly disappeared. Moreover, this is just the power he released to protect me. How terrifying is his actual strength? Can I really surpass him? Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1611. Jia Yan's power would not respond much, so Jiurong fell into endless depression again. Fortunately, he had already grabbed a star-level super battleship under the spotlight. This is just a starry sky-level creature. Why does he have such terrifying power in his body? They are definitely the descendants of super strong people, and the super strong people who took action have at least reached the lower level stars. Even ordinary lower level stars may not necessarily have such power. In the star field where the stellar powerhouse is located, the subordinates of the stellar powerhouses are all watching the process of Jiurong killing that stellar powerhouse. In fact, there are already strong men following Jiurong. And among these strong men, none was weaker than him. They were at least at the venerable level, and there were even 2 at the semi-star level. These 2 half-star level powerhouses were the half-star level beings that came from nearby after Jiurong killed the half-star level powerhouses in Tian's star region that day. When they saw Jiurong's crisis, after Jia Yan took action to kill the semi-star level existence in their star field, he knew that he could never be his opponent, and even under that power, he didn't even have a chance to escape. And they have thought about it. If they want to go further and become a powerful person in the semi-star level, instead of staying in such a weak star field, they might as well work for a creature with the help of that top powerhouse. In the future, there will be a chance to be personally mentored by the strong man who took action, and then he might be able to successfully improve his strength. So they took the initiative to ask to become Jiurong's subordinates, and after Jiurong considered agreeing, and heard Jiurong said that the creature who took action might actually be Jiurong's father, they became even more excited one by one. He was so surprised that he even decided to follow this small creature that didn't seem to be very powerful forever. You must know that this is the biological son of the person who took action, and it is even said that he should be the only son. How precious is this? Therefore, when they invaded the starry sky where this star-level powerhouse lived, these semi-star level beings and subordinates with other strengths all contributed a lot until the star-level powerhouse was lured out. You did a good job. Now follow me on this battleship and go to the so-called genius battlefield. I hope I can improve my strength there. Jiurong took a completely different approach from Jia Yan back then, and went to the genius battlefield in a very glorious way on a super-fast battleship that was only possible for a star-level expert. And because this battleship happened to be the super-fast battleship specially purchased for escape by the elementary being of the star, they went to the genius battlefield even faster. It only took a year in total for Jiurong and his party to reach the genius battlefield. And in this year, his strength has gone from the original Starry Sky beginner level to the Starry Sky advanced level, and he even has a faint feeling that he is heading towards the Starry Sky late stage. The speed of promotion made all the subordinates he had initially recruited express great surprise. You must know that even if they are talented, it would take several years for each level to reach the starry sky level. It takes time to get promoted. But Jiarong himself was still smiling bitterly during this process. Because the gap is too big. If that man's age is true, he is no more than a few dozen years older than me, but his current strength has reached an unfathomable star level, not even an ordinary star level. Even a single force can destroy. He can directly kill the creatures at the primary level of the star. How can this kind of strength be advanced to one level every year? If the starry sky level has to be leveled up every year, he will never reach this level. Jiarong knew that although his talent was good, even after walking in the universe for several years, he should be the most powerful creature he had ever seen, but compared to that man, he didn't know how far behind he was. The more he learned, the more doubtful he became. What kind of talent did that person have back then? What happened to him after he left the universe? Also, although they flew at super light speed along the way, their subordinates once went down to the star field on the way to buy necessities. And if you ask about a creature named Jia Yan in these star fields, many aborigines who know a little bit about the inside story will talk about an animal also named Jia Yan, but it definitely does not look like an earthling. That creature is already well known in the neighborhood. After all, it is the most popular one in the genius battlefield recently, and it is the most terrifying and fastest real genius whose promotion speed has been recorded in the genius battlefield. The only pity is that this creature is an evolved beast. It seems to have always been full of danger to the surrounding star field. Even Genius Battlefield almost thought of killing this creature back then, but it was later called out by him. It has been promoted to the star level, and there are rumors that once this evolutionary beast family reaches the star level, it is impossible to stop it from rising again. Evolved beast? Alas, the person asking is just an ordinary creature. He only knows very little about this evolved beast and cannot get effective information. Otherwise, I would also know where this evolved beast came from. Of course, I also know that this evolved beast is so terrifying that it cannot be that person's, and besides, the body shape and appearance of the two creatures are different. After Jiarong heard the information about Jia Yan, he didn't care too much. After all, although the two names were similar, in the universe, the name similarity was too normal. After all, there were so many creatures, even if they were similar to his father. The creature with the same name seems to be something extraordinary, but it definitely cannot be the same person. Especially after seeing the image of the evolved beast, Jiarong was shocked that this evolved beast was actually a creature of the giant Mosquito family. He no longer thought that this Jia Yan would be the same as his. The Earthling father Jia Yan belongs to the same creature. However, some unique and weird feelings in his heart still slowly took over his heart. It seems a little weird. This evolved beast is from the giant Mosquito clan, and the giant Mosquito clan has a vague and unclear connection with my father, Jia Yan. Is there any relationship? Forget it, I don't know. After so many investigations, the genius battlefield is about to arrive. Jiarong, who experienced a big flight in the universe, rode a super battleship and came to the genius battlefield. The huge battleship, including the huge light curtain that enveloped the entire battle zone outside the battle zone, made the creatures in Jiarong's battleship extremely excited. What does this mean? Our Orion arm also has a similar light curtain, but it's so similar that I feel like I'm back in the Orion arm. Jiarong saw the genius battlefield. On the outer layer of the huge star field of the entire battlefield, there was a battle light curtain caused by the existence of the domain masters such as Senior Tianji. Apart from being slightly curious, why was this place different from the Orion arm where he was previously? Apart from some similarities, there isn't much of a shock. After all, the outer light curtains of the Orion arm and the genius battlefield are not willing to give in too much. Huh? The battleship of this star-level powerhouse is so powerful. Is there a star-level powerhouse who personally sends his nephews here? It's scary. The geniuses of this class will definitely be occupied by the nephews of this star-level powerhouse. No, it seems that in this battleship, there are no fluctuations from the strong men at the stellar level. Even when our battleship approaches, he does not release the pressure of the strong men to chase us away. Why is this? On the outer layer of the genius battlefield, at the registration point that receives outside genius creatures to the genius battlefield, warships are docked one after another. When the 30-kilometer class battleship captured by Jiarong came to the registration point, the same situation as Jia Yan's 20-kilometer class Edisha happened. That is, all the creatures were sighing. Here comes a junior genius led by a strong man. It's a pity that Jiarong, like Jia Yan back then, didn't actually have any seniors to lead him, but what's good about him is that he has a group of subordinates who give him face. And the battleship has a bit more face than the Aditha. Well, your battleship is a battleship belonging to a powerful star. It seems that it was sold to a customer in our star field some time ago. Is it an old acquaintance? Please come out and talk about it. A semi-constant breath level peak person asked curiously about the huge battleship here. This being is a creature at the pinnacle of a semi-stellar level. In this registration area, it can almost be said to be the strongest being. In fact, he is from a star domain that is very good at building battleships. This time he personally sent his nephew to come to this genius battle domain to study. He originally wanted to come over in a huge warship to show off his face. After all, what kind of star domain do they have? Not many, just powerful large battleships. But he didn't dare, because in the universe, what kind of strength enjoys what kind of things, especially in the genius battlefield. If he dares to do this, if he is seen by the star-level strong men in the genius battlefield, he will definitely be given to him. Eating the bitter fruit is disrespectful to the strong. So when he saw that there was a group of beings sitting in a battleship that seemed to be sold from their star field, and that was even less powerful than him, he became angry with a bad temper. Our young master is out, there is no room for you to talk, get out. That's right, our young master is a guy who is not even as high as a star like you. You just want to see him if you want? How dare you disrespect the little dog's life again? In the huge battleship, Jiarong didn't say anything. A group of subordinates around him started shouting crazily. You must know that in their eyes, the father of this young master is a terrifying and powerful man who can kill the existence of the first-level star at will, let alone a half-star peak, even an ordinary first-level star. Those who are powerful must respect the young master in a polite manner. Humph, that person is just an ordinary junior star-level person. If he arrived in person, I would be more respectful. Now he is just 2.5 star-level people leading a group of ants, and he dares to talk to me like this. Come on, my grandson, if you want to enter the genius battlefield, Grandpa will make you blush, otherwise no one will dare to bully you if you enter. Get out of here. The half-star peak creature became furious after hearing Jiarong's words. If it were normal times, he would have thought about it carefully, but outside of this genius battlefield, it was related to his grandson's reputation and treatment after entering the genius battlefield. In a big way, it might affect the prospects of the future successors of their star field. He will naturally not lose face like this. So the creature was caught and captured. He didn't want to hurt anyone, he just controlled the battleship and taught the genius creature inside a lesson, so that he knew the sky was high and the sky was high. After all, the battleship itself is still a star class. Although he knows that the star class is a parallel star class, he can deal with it with some connections, but it is always better not to face it head on. Ah, master, he wants to kill us. It's only half a star level, it's totally outrageous. Don't panic, young master. I'll let you take care of your worries. The two half-star subordinates on Jiarong's side seemed to be only mid-level stars, but at this moment, they actually acted extremely righteously, using their strength to resist the existence of this half-star peak. Go. Boom. The world collapsed, and the sound of the confrontation between 3.5-star level beings was naturally extremely terrifying. However, the strength of the two parties was too weak, too weak. The power of the half-star peak could not be completely eliminated and continued to bombard the battleship. Master, we are useless. In the battleship, the two semi-star level experts who had just released their power were Jiarong, who seemed to be much weaker, apologized to Jiarong, who looked like an earthling and was so small that they couldn't see clearly with a magnifying glass. Although they seemed sad, they knew deep down that there was no risk in this battle. Well, you tried your best. Jiarong shook his head. How could he not know the meaning of the two people's intention to show their full strength? They didn't want to try their best, but they just wasted a little strength and didn't even hurt their skin. They are also not worried about danger. Just like Jiarong, he doesn't worry about his own danger at all. Because buzz. When the power that exists at the peak of half a star blasts towards the battleship, an aura far exceeding the coercion he exuded rose up in a shocking manner. Xiaorong, you are naughty. There seems to be a sense of helplessness in that power. But behind the strength, Jiarong just sneered. You don't have to take action. I'm just a force, I don't have so many emotions. Let's wait until my father helps you get rid of these ants. Buzz buzz. When this earth-shattering power appeared, the countless creatures around him, except for Jiarong in the battleship, including his subordinates, all seemed to see some terrifying creature that far exceeded their own life level. They were all trembling and unable to move. Senior, The attacking semi-star level peak creature froze in mid-air for an instant, unable to fall down at all. His eyes were full of horror, and he was about to beg for mercy. Die. But that terrifying existence was like dealing with real ants. In an instant, a force swept out directly without letting him finish his plea for mercy. Puff. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1612. Under the horrified gazes of countless geniuses around and the powerful men who escorted the geniuses, that dignified half-star peak existence turned into powder directly at the registration point of this genius battlefield. You must know that this is an existence of a half-star peak. Don't think that the existence of a half-star peak is nothing. This is enough strength to sit in a weak star field. But such a terrifying and powerful man was actually killed directly outside the registration point of this genius battlefield, and he had no power to fight back, just like a little ant. The faces of the geniuses who came to the genius battlefield changed drastically. The elders or guards around them were also shocked in an instant. None of them had reached the half-star peak, and the strongest were only a few half-star junior and mid-level creatures. However, the strongest half-star peak present was actually directly killed by the power that suddenly appeared in the huge battleship. And it was the kind of killing without any resistance, which made them completely at a loss. What kind of powerful creature is this? They never thought that a half-star creature could be so easily crushed to death by another creature like a crushed ant. No, this is the genius battlefield. If this being dares to take action, he will be dead. The genius battlefield is definitely not something that just any creature can act recklessly. Yes, he only exists at the gate of the genius battlefield. So what if he is a star? The genius battlefield is a place known as the cradle of a star. The group of geniuses and powerful people present all thought of this in an instant after being shocked. They were right. Although they were suppressed by the sudden appearance of the terrifying existence and unable to move, the domineering power of this force made them feel uncomfortable. At the same time, they understood better that killing a half-star who dared to deal with their family's juniors made sense in theory, but this creature even suppressed a group of registered geniuses around them, and even a few weak ones appeared. The injury situation will make the people in Genius Battlefield unhappy. Because this is tantamount to a slap in the face to the Genius Battlefield. Sure enough, when the surrounding creatures all thought of this possibility, at a place similar to an entrance far away from the Genius Battlefield registration point, there was suddenly a shocking force and a sudden roar. Your Excellency is so bold. You actually dare to commit such a murder in my Genius Battlefield. There was even chaos at the registration entrance. Even if you are a star, this cannot be justified. At the same time as the sound appeared, at the entrance, a shockingly huge figure suddenly flew out from the entrance. The moment this creature appeared, the surrounding starry sky seemed to have an unbelievable and shocking existence, and the entire starry sky froze. The endless space was solidified, and no living thing could move. Hung, star level? The star level master from Genius Battlefield has indeed appeared. Countless genius creatures and their elders looked at the shocking creature that suddenly appeared in horror. The feeling of being suppressed by this creature is very similar to the feeling of sealing off the surrounding space when the inexplicable power appeared just now, but the general feeling is that it seems to be a little stronger than the power just now. Even the surrounding creatures are affected, especially the huge star-class battleship at the center of this power. Boom! The entire huge battleship, although it is a battleship of a strong star class, can't stand in front of a real star class. It's still not enough to look at, not to mention that this battleship is just a fast battleship that facilitates escape. So when the battleship was affected by that shocking force, many subordinate creatures in the battleship spurted out a mouthful of blood. Puff puff. A lot of blood spurted out, and their eyes were filled with horror. You must know that before, when they followed this young master Jiurong, they had already dealt with a strong man at the beginning of a star. At that time, the young master was protected by a shocking power in his body. At that time, even that first level star, the creatures of the highest level were killed by the shocking power without causing much harm to them. So they all thought that the star level might be like this. But now, they were truly bombarded by that star level power, and they deeply felt how terrifying the strength of a star-level being was. A star, that is, it takes who knows how many half-star existences to give birth to an existence with extraordinary talent and luck. Their strength has long surpassed that of half-star or even half-star creatures. They treat a star-level creature as if they were a god. After all, their strength is so different that they are like two kinds of creatures. Life forms are all on different levels. This, the young master's protective power has not come out. How could it be? Is it possible that this star-level powerhouse is too powerful, and the young master is not sure of his protective power? This is wrong. Hey, no, look, the power in the young master has appeared. It turns out that under the watchful eyes of all the creatures, the stellar power in Jiurong's body did not appear, but appeared on the surface of Jiurong's body when the power came, letting a less obvious defense appear on the surface of its body. This is also the helplessness of the power, because the existence that appears is different from the weak elementary star level that we dealt with before. He is a star level creature that is powerful even in the elementary level, and because it is a genius battlefield as a star, his combat talent is stronger than that of ordinary stars, so it is extremely difficult to protect the entire battleship. Of course, there is another reason, that is, this power has been used many times, and there is not much power left, so he can only protect his son, and he does not think so much about other powers. Boom boom boom. The huge battleships were all distorted, as if they were being destroyed by this shocking force. Huh? I can still protect it? This power seems not to be a real person. Even though on the surface it seemed that the battleships here and the creatures inside the battleships had suffered great damage, the genius battlefield creatures that came, at this moment, only saw the essence of the person they wanted to deal with. When he saw clearly that the existence he wanted to deal with was actually guarded by a force, and he also felt that the force he really wanted to deal with was actually just an uncontrollable force, his expression changed drastically in an instant. You know, if you want to put your own power on the body of another creature, and then induce protection at a critical moment, this requires at least an intermediate star, and it requires the use of a lot of equipment or plans, and if you want to be more convenient, to operate in this way, it would require a creature of almost a lower level than a star to be able to do it. If it's just power, it shouldn't have any thinking ability, and it won't be able to talk. Then the existence I'm talking to is the one he protects. What kind of animal is this? How can it be so small, and its strength, in the starry sky level? A creature that is at least a mid-level star, actually protects a mid-level creature in the starry sky. That day, the star-level existence in the genius battlefield saw Jiurong under protection, and his face was filled with surprise. It is impossible for an existence above the middle level of a star to spend a lot of money to develop its own power and protect weak creatures, even if it is a descendant or nephew. Because beings that have reached the middle level of a star or above are generally creatures that have lived for a long time, at least for more than 1,000 years. And creatures that have reached such a time span generally have no intention of giving birth to offspring. Even if it is difficult to give birth, even if you want to, and it is even more difficult to find a suitable female. Therefore, if they have children and nephews, it is usually only possible when they are weak, so by the time they reach the mid-level strength of a star, those children and nephews will either be strong, or they will all be dead long ago. The relationship between a stellar mid-level nephew and a starry sky-level nephew is unknown for many generations. Generally speaking, no matter how talented the nephew is, it is impossible for him to be protected by a stellar mid-level senior. This star-level creature from the genius battlefield is a terrifying creature that reaches a size of 3 kilometers. He was just thinking about whether to lower his face and talk to the starry mid-level creature who looked like an ant. Humph, it's actually you. That shocking power actually seemed to have some opinions of its own. When he saw this genius warrior in the primary stellar level, he spoke with a slight coldness. What? It's even better if you can actually have a conversation. In that case, please tell me, Your Excellency, why you attacked the applicants of my genius battlefield and caused such a noise in this registration site. The star-level creature pretended not to hear the voice that seemed to recognize him. Because this voice is not familiar, even if it is familiar, it is not too familiar, and if it is said that both parties are familiar with each other, then the commotion at the registration point will be resolved in this way, which is something he absolutely does not want to see. So he blocked the other party's words from the beginning, making the conversation between the two parties focus on the simple friction of this incident. As for the fact that he thinks this creature's true form is more powerful than him, that doesn't mean he's afraid. The true form is powerful, but doesn't that mean the true form isn't coming? Even if they come, what will their talented warriors be afraid of? What's more, what's here is just a force. To him, it's just a force, and he can easily deal with it. Oh, it just so happens that when you chased me so far back then, I also wanted to make a careful calculation with you. The master of that power said something that this stellar powerhouse couldn't understand, but he was not frightened. No matter what, it is a fact that you have caused the reputation of my genius battlefield to be damaged. Now I will break up your power and expel you, my nephew, as punishment. The primary creature from the star, speaking calmly, seemed to have completely determined that the responsibility lies with Jiurong. Of course, no matter how provocative the other party is, it is a true fact that a half-star peak person died, and they have no intention of taking Jiurong's life. After all, not everyone dares to be a genius. Outside the star territory, other applicants will be killed. Oh, if you want to destroy this power of mine, you try. That terrifying sense of power surged out of Jiurong's body again. Faced with this terrifying power, Jiurong fell silent. Because his feelings for this power are very complicated, and only now he knows that this power in his body actually has so much self-awareness, which makes him feel a slight chill, because during these years of wandering, he did and said a lot of things that were unfavorable to Jiayan, or more personal things. Could it be that all these processes were seen by this power? Don't worry, Xiaorong, I'm just a part of your father's strength. He will only know a rough idea of what's going on here. I don't need to waste my power on passing many things into his head. And next, I will probably know you will also disappear in this battle, and no one else will know your secret. At the same time that the power appeared, he suddenly said these words towards Jiarong, and then the power itself rushed towards the terrifying genius battlefield star-level powerhouse who was attacking. This star-level existence, is actually the star-level powerhouse who was chased by Jiayan in many starry sky areas when he was in the genius battle area. He was even in the genius battle area at the beginning. When he was in the central star region, he wanted to enter the dark realm and uproot the forces formed by Jiayan in order to find Jiayan. Unfortunately, when Jiayan left the genius battlefield, this creature did not catch him, and what he didn't know was that Jiayan remembered this stellar existence. This time the old friends reunited, it was still in this slightly confrontational situation. Jiayan sneered a little. Although the past between the two parties was not to the point of fighting to the death, it was not friendly either. Now there is someone who wants to destroy his own power. Thoughts? Then let's have a show. Boom. The power of the two sides bombarding each other suddenly exploded in the starry sky. Feeling the counter-shock force his body endured, the huge starry sky-level warrior from the genius battlefield instantly took several steps back. At this moment, his expression was extremely solemn. Because this power has obviously consumed a lot of feeling, but it can still be a stalemate with his own casual blow. It can be seen that if his strength is sufficient, doesn't it mean that he can confront him head-on with all his strength? A star-level powerhouse in the genius battlefield, it's nothing more than that. Jiayan sneered. To be honest, Jiayan was very dissatisfied with genius battlefield's past practices. Although they didn't kill their growing selves before, it wasn't that great. Later, they sent a mission to a distant star school for themselves. Logically speaking, he can already be regarded as one of their own in the genius battlefield, but this time the people who passed by the genius battlefield did not say anything to Jiayan on the way. Later, Jiayan was in a situation where he almost died because of a conflict with the Seeing Academy. The genius battlefield side actually remained silent. This made Jiayan feel chilled. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1613. Because of the above reasons, Jiayan spoke coldly during this confrontation. Boom. In the heaven and earth, another collision of light appeared. The strong man who collided with the power of Jiayan's attack flew backwards a very long distance in an instant. The shadow of Jiayan's power is even thinner. However, during this process, the eyes of that genius battlefield star-level existence became extremely astonished. You Jiayan? This creature who has been pursuing Jiayan is very familiar with Jiayan's sense of energy. After all, he has been studying Jiayan, especially in the process of Jiayan's pursuit, step by step. Grew rapidly and then became a star-level powerhouse, on an equal footing with him, which was extremely shocking to this creature. Then he did more research on Jiayan. Although he did not discover the secret of the true power of this evolved beast in the end, he still clearly remembered Jiayan's energy feeling. Now he suddenly felt Jiayan's real energy fluctuations, which made him stunned. Because it has been so long, news about Jiayan has long since disappeared in the genius battlefield. After all, the most indispensable thing in the genius battlefield is genius. Even if Jiayan is a terrifying level genius that has never appeared in the genius battlefield, he can after so many years, news about Jiayan no longer appears. Combined with the news about the genius battlefield's last mission to the Stellar Academy and other powerful people, it seems that in this genius battlefield, there has never been a terrifying level of evolutionary beast genius. It's time to return to the West. So less and less is said about him. But today, this strong man who had been pursuing Jia Yan for a long time and wanted to use Jia Yan to complete the mission actually saw the power of this evolved beast again. Oh, finally remembered me. Long time no see. How are you doing, sir? Jia Yan sneered slightly. The stellar being's expression became extremely fearful. You are actually still alive? What's more important is that your strength has actually reached the point where you can release your power alone and fight in the outside world. Jia Yan, tell me, how far have you reached now? That day, the face of the star-level powerhouse in the genius battlefield suddenly turned gloomy. For him, what happened at this time seemed to be a fact that he could not accept at all. Even if he had not believed it before, Jia Yan, who could escape from his hands time and time again, would become a man in the world. After becoming a stellar-level evolved beast, he still died in the outer star field. However, the fact that not only did Jia Yan survive, but he was also able to use such terrifying external power, made him feel like he was dreaming. Like seeing something in a dream. Because if you just do some calculations, you will know that a star-level powerhouse who can use powers outside his birth must at least have the strength of an intermediate-level star, and he must be relatively powerful among the intermediate-level stars. Even a single force was able to strike a blow against him, a genius star who was not considered weak among the elementary stars. This was almost beyond the description of the external power of an intermediate star. How far have I reached? Sir, do you think I can tell you? Well, now that my son wants to enter the genius battlefield, please get out of my way. Jia Yan's power is a little more domineering than the real him. This is because his power is inherently domineering and sharp, so he has this domineering feeling. This is your son, this. The first-level star expert, after thinking for a while, stepped back and said, since your father is Jia Yan, it means that you have a relationship with my genius battlefield. There is no need to test your talent. Please come in. He instantly had no doubts about the fact that a weak creature like Jiarong could be the son of a strong man. Because this is Jia Yan's son. Jia Yan is too young. Although the specifics are not known, according to the analysis of the strong men in the genius battlefield, his age is not estimated to be 100 years old, and he may not even be 60. At such an age, according to the progress of ordinary strong men in the universe, no matter how talented they are the most powerful, but Jia Yan has reached the star level in a flash, and may not be just an ordinary star level. So at his age, it is normal to have such a young and weak son, because Jia Yan is not very old to begin with. No, if you put it this way, this son is actually the child of an evolved beast. Although he looks different from his father, he does seem to have a faint sense of Jia Yan's aura. Doesn't this mean, there is also a possibility that he is an evolved beast creature? Suddenly, the star-level creature in the genius battlefield that day suddenly became pale. He had been chasing Jia Yan before, and had no intention of killing him. He just wanted to accept Jia Yan, an evolutionary beast with amazing talent, into his genius battlefield faction. But before he completed his mission, Jia Yan had already become a stellar powerhouse and successfully graduated. To put it bluntly, there is no big feud between the two, which is why after recognizing Jia Yan just now, this stellar powerhouse did not take action again. But now, he suddenly thought that Jia Yan's son was actually Jia Yan's heir, and he suddenly knew that maybe the heavenly suit was not bad. If you have good talent, even if you don't have the talent of the evolutionary beast father, as long as it exceeds the average genius, you are definitely a rare genius. What's more, through this heir, you can establish a relationship with Jia Yan who doesn't have much trouble in the first place. The relationship has deepened, and maybe he is also a foreign aid for their faction in the outside world. After all, Jia Yan is a strong man in their genius battlefield. If there are any tasks to be released in the genius battlefield, Jia Yan is actually still there is a certain obligation to accept, it just depends on whether he accepts or not. Here, are you the descendant of the evolved beast Jia Yan? Seeing that Jia Yan's power had been withdrawn into Jia Rong's body, this star-level creature from the genius battlefield asked Jia Rong with great interest. Well, Jia Rong was startled for a moment, then he hesitated for a while before nodding slightly. In fact, in this cosmic journey, because Jia Yan took care of his life, and the three powers added to him, he already recognized his son identity, and even vaguely felt that Jia Yan didn't care about him. My father also became more identified with me. Well, since you are Jia Yan's descendant, you also have certain privileges. After all, Master Jia Yan has also helped me a lot in the genius battlefield, and he is a super genius who came out of my genius battlefield. Then you have the opportunity to directly enter the genius field. If you have the opportunity to study in the central area of the battlefield, no matter which faction you go to, they will treat you well. What I suggest is that you can come with me. This star-level creature directly said this. But Jia Rong couldn't finish listening to his words, because the meaning of these words revealed an extremely important content. That is why he thinks that his father, Jia Yan, is considered a place for extremely high-level stellar geniuses to study in countless star fields around here. Even if he has been here, he should be unknown, but he actually saw this star. After the super being's words, he knew that Jia Yan, whom he wanted to surpass, was actually an extremely earth-shattering existence in this genius battlefield. Sir, do you know what happened to my father in the past? Finally, Jia Rong couldn't help it anymore and asked this question. Sir? Haha, since you are the child of an old friend, just call me senior. Don't you understand Jia Yan's deeds? Well, I can take you to a certain force created by Jia Yan. If you are willing, you can listen to the stories about your father's past told by them in that force. Of course, if you want to improve your strength or get as close to your father as possible, you still have to go to the big force in the central star region, you know? My father still has influence in this genius battlefield. Jia Rong was extremely surprised by what this man said, and at the same time, he became more and more surprised at what Jia Yan had done in this genius battlefield. It was said that he was surprised, but Jia Rong was far from imagining that the Jia Yan he would get to know next would surprise him in such a way. In other words, it should be shocking and shocking. Because the Jia Yan he learned about was not a creature that looked like an earthling, but a giant mosquito. Impossible, the giant mosquito clan? Aren't they a race in the universe? Why did this giant mosquito clan become an evolved beast that was born on the earth? My father is the evolved beast, right? But the giant mosquito clan, this guy from the Zhiguo clan claims to be Jia Yan. Why is this happening? When Jia Rong learned that the so-called Jia Yan was actually not an earthling, but an astonishingly evolved beast that was huge to a certain extent, he almost couldn't help but want to scream out in surprise. Because this is an absolutely unacceptable fact for him. But Jia Rong is not an idiot. In fact, what he saw and heard along the way has already caused a trace of doubt in his heart. So when this genius battlefield star-level expert told the past of his father Jia Yan, all these doubts finally turned into real facts. That is, his father is not actually an earthling at all, but a mosquito, which is what the Earthlings and Orion arm creatures call a giant mosquito. The giant mosquito clan? Why is this happening? But he claimed to be from the Earth in this genius battlefield, and from the beginning to the end, no other giant mosquito clan appeared. Jia Rong seemed to have discovered some huge secret. Not only was his father a strong man of the giant mosquito clan, but the even bigger secret seemed to be that the giant mosquito clan was not a racial problem at all. That's right, the giant mosquito clan might not have existed from the beginning, but he was the only one from beginning to end. Why are there so many giant mosquitoes in disguise? It's actually because his progress is too fast. This explains why the giant Mosquito clan only appears one by one. Jiarong seemed to be completely in some kind of stunned shock. Not only is he not a descendant of Earthlings at all, he is not even similar to his parents. He is the son of an animal with no knowledge of bloodline or race. Evolution beast, what exactly is evolution beast? And Jia Yan, no, who is my father? Why would he say that his grandparents are his parents? Who is the Jia Yan in the family? Jiarong had countless reasons in his heart. However, he was shocked and surprised in his heart, but it did not hinder the battleship he was riding on. Behind a group of subordinates who followed the star-level strongman in the genius battlefield, and in the eyes of all the people at the registration point, he was directly fly into the battlefield of geniuses. This is called the back door, and it is the back door that no one dares to say anything to refute. Didn't you see that there is actually an energy clone in that battleship that can make even a star-level powerhouse in the genius battlefield fail? As for the half-star level creature that was killed, at this moment, no one cares about his life or death. After all, for a star-level strongman, even if he reaches the half-star level, the peak level is nothing. Wow, did you see that a star-level creature personally welcomed him into the genius battlefield? Whose descendant is this? It's so terrifying. Being able to have such power or strength, looking at the star field around our genius battlefield, there are not many of them. They should be the closest descendants of any race, maybe they are all. We should not look too much at the descendants of a galaxy-level adult. Children of such powerful beings are usually raised in their own homes. We are lucky to see them once. If we look at others more, we will provoke others. If you get into any trouble, your death will really be in vain. All the creatures at the gate of the genius battlefield dared not speak. And those outside visitors who claimed to be geniuses felt the importance of family background at this moment. If they had a family background similar to that of the starry sky level beings in the battleship, wouldn't they also be so prosperous? So, having talent is not as good as having a good family background. And judging from the respect of the star-level powerhouse, it is estimated that even if the talent of the star-level creature is average, it will definitely not be too bad. In the future, we may all look up to him. It's unfair. Inside the genius battlefield, Jiarong, who had already flown into it, didn't know that he, who originally flew out of the Earth and thought he was going to enter the Mang Mang universe that he had no idea about, had actually become what others call a strong second generation. He is completely confused now. It is true that he wants to refine himself in the universe, but no matter where he goes, there is the shadow of his father, and this father, a creature who is not much older than him, actually arrived early. He was completely unbelievable and increasingly unfathomable. Okay, let's use the most advanced passage directly to go inside the genius battlefield. Looking at the extremely respectful star-level warrior in the battlefield who was following him as a commentator, Jiarong suddenly felt a strange feeling in his heart. I might as well go home. Can I really surpass him in these places?